Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, do allow me to start this very session, please. Do take your seats. So once again, a very good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we do start the next morning session of Thursday, July the 6th. And just a reminder, we do continue item 7b. We are now in Africa. And we are opening the point 39, Ngorongoro Conservation Area of the United Republic of Tanzania. It is why I would like now to give the floor to the delegation, to the distinguished delegation of the Zimbabwe, to present to the committee the reason why it is requested to open the State of Conservation report on Ngorongoro Conservation Area, United Republic of Tanzania. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning. The reasons why we have requested the opening of the State of Conservation report of Ngorongoro is that the draft decision has some misconceptions with regard to the upgrading of the Ludari Road. In the past, the committee has given the state party permission to harden the road because of tourism pressure and the different vehicles that are coming. And these decisions were made in the 36-7B in Petersburg and in Doha and in Bonn. There were decisions that requested the state party to look at options for hardening the road in order to address the overuse of the road and the negative environmental impact that it had been having. The state party has undertaken the feasibility studies, and the state party has undertaken the feasibility studies required, and these meetings have been held with the advisory bodies and consultants to discuss the recommendations of the study. We find that the draft decision to put on hold the upgrade of the southern bypass is dealing with a matter that is not related to the hardening of the road. These two roads are different, and therefore we have proposed a draft amendment to the decision that clarifies the two roads and the differences that are in there.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for this presentation. And now I would like to invite Mr. Edmond Mukala, Chief of the Africa Unit of the World Heritage Center, to respond to this comment, and later on the floor goes to advisory bodies. Mr. Mukala, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The World Heritage Center and the advisory body have been liaising closely with the State Party of Tanzania on the state of conservation of the Ngorongoro Conservation Area to discuss the various conservation and development projects that are planned at the property. The World Heritage Center organized even a meeting with the Tanzanian Authority and the advisory body in February 2017 to further discuss specifically the project to upgrade the Lodwar Gate to Golini Main Road and the access road to Old Dubai Museum from gravel to hardening standard within the property. Other projects under discussion are the re-excavation of the Laetoli footprint, the Laetoli Hominid Footprints Museum and associated facilities, tourist facilities, and the effort to develop a general management plan for the property. In light of the combined complexity of this project, the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies consider that further progress with this project should await the finding of and the recommendation of a proposed reactive monitoring mission to the property, to which both the state party and the advisory body have in our meeting in the last 2 days, reached an agreement on the time frame where that mission could be conducted. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. As it is mixed, I would like to ask first IUCN and later on ICOMOS, if I may. IUCN, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The advisory bodies, and as just mentioned by the World Heritage Center, have indeed had a meeting with the state party at this session to discuss this very issue, and we thank the state party for requesting that meeting. As far as the Lodeware Gate to Golini Road is concerned, it's understood that the condition of this road is very poor and requires an urgent solution. And indeed, the committee at its 36th session had requested the state party to assess options for hardening this road, and the advisory bodies in the World Heritage Center have received an EIA for the upgrading of this very road. However, IUCN is concerned that the assessment of impacts on the neighboring Serengeti National Park World Heritage Site has not yet been undertaken in the form of a comprehensive EIA, and the proposed upgrading of the road may have implications for its use, which are currently not fully understood. This includes the risk of increasing traffic with associated impacts, such as the risk of increased wildlife mortality in road accidents. And some of these risks are also identified in the EIA that was submitted by the state party. We are therefore of the view that a mission should visit the property to look into these concerns more closely, and the advisory bodies are ready to cooperate with the state party to ensure that such a mission can be organized as quickly as possible. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, IUCN. And now the floor goes to ICOMOS. ICOMOS, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would also like to express our appreciation for the meeting with the state party, which was very useful in discussing these issues. As IUCN has already indicated, there have been discussions in the past about the options for hardening the Lodeware-Golini Road. There are, however, two issues here. One is the surface of the road, and the second is how the road is used. And in past discussions and recommendations of the committee, there has been a request to understand the relationship between upgrading the southern bypass and the use of the Lodeware-Golini Road. And this is the interlinkage that we would like to see more clearly set out. If the road is hardened, then clearly there will be an increase in traffic, certainly for tourist traffic and perhaps for other traffic as well. And the implications of the hardening of the road, we feel, also need to be set out and discussed. In the helpful meeting with the state party, we discussed the possibility of an early mission, as that could facilitate earlier dialogue on these issues. And both IUCN and ICOMOS would be very willing to do all it can to send a mission as quickly as possible. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam. So now it's time to invite the committee members to express their comments, if any. Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Chairperson. Through you, can I request that you also give the state party a chance to present, given the concerns that have been expressed by the advisory bodies?
Thank you, Ambassador. Now the floor goes to Portugal. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to you and to all those up there. I heard what the representative of the centre and of the advisory bodies had to say, and I took note of the very constructive and useful discussions that have been going on with the State Party. I also listened very carefully to my colleague from Zimbabwe, and it does seem to me that what she said makes a lot of sense. So, Mr. President, two very concrete proposals, which I think would allow us to gain some time. First, that we hear what the representative of the State Party has to say, and secondly, that you put the new revised draft decision on the screen so that we can see exactly what are the alterations proposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now the Republic of Korea. The floor is yours. Korea. Korea, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Republic of Korea highly commends the efforts and dedication of the State Party to adhere to the recommendations of the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies in their endeavors to protect the property. I think it is important to recognize their dedication to work out viable solutions to protect the heritage. Providing the southern bypass road can be an alternative which would aid in erasing traffic pressure within the property. We wish that the EIA and HIA can be conducted in a productive manner in regards to the archaeological site protection and recovery of the downstream wetlands. We would like to ask the State Party on the details of the study and research of the cultural and archaeological attributes and its progress. Addressing issues of the livelihood of the communities and dealing with increasing tourism pressure should be continuously and holistically pursued by the State Party. We have no doubt that State Party is dedicated to carry on their continued efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's time for Burkina Faso. Excellence, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ma délégation voudrait également appuyer ces demandes d'ouverture de discussion pour permettre à l'État partie de clarifier certains points, et notamment les préoccupations qui viennent d'être exprimées par les organes consultatifs. Nous comprenons que les organes consultatifs sont disposés à effectuer une mission de terrain afin d'accompagner toujours l'État partie. Nous souhaitons que cette coopération se poursuive, mais nous appuyons l'idée de permettre à l'État de pouvoir apporter des clarifications en vue de considérer les propositions d'amendement qui seront faites. Je vous remercie.
Merci. And now the floor goes to Jamaica. Jamaica, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jamaica supports Zimbabwe with the opening of discussions on this matter and thanks the WHC and advisory bodies for their reports. We also commend the State Party on its efforts, notably those related to achieving zero recorded elephant poaching within the property. The main concern, as was just highlighted, are related to the proposed road improvements and the resulting heavy traffic and increased access for poachers. We encourage the State Party to invite the reactive monitoring mission to the property, and in light of the proposed amendments to the draft decision text, which indicate additional information, including the submission of a comprehensive ESIA, HIA, Jamaica would also welcome hearing directly from the State Party on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. And now Turkey. Turkey, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Along the lines of Portuguese ambassador, we also would like to listen to the State Party because having heard the general remarks made by the Zimbabwe ambassador, we're convinced that the commitment of the State Party, and we need to hear about their views on the upgrading of the road. So I would ask your indulgence to give the State Party the right to express themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Peru wishes to take the floor. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias. Son varias de las delegaciones que han indicado la necesidad de escuchar al Estado parte, entonces el Perú comparte ese criterio y creo que deberíamos proceder a dar la palabra al estado aparte para que pueda dar las explicaciones necesarias. Gracias, presidente.
Gracias. Thank you, Ambassador. I'm encouraged now to pass the floor to the United Republic of Tanzania. Tanzania, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. There are clear distinction between the two roads, the southern bypass and the road that we want to upgrade. The aim of upgrading the Lodwar-Golini road is basically an environmental strategy to minimize existing environmental concerns. This road is almost purely used for tourism. And there are already limits of use of this road. It's only used 12 hours a day. That's one. Two, the engineering design is so comprehensive to prevent heavy traffic from using this road. So it's not a public road per se. It's a road meant for tourism, and there are controls of use of this road, including limits of use, and then it's limited use 12 hours a day. So that's one. But number two, the southern bypass is a public road built by the government to support communities that are living western side of Serengeti. At the moment, the access is complicated. They use a much longer road. So the government decided to improve this road in order that the western people living western Serengeti can easily move from western Serengeti to central Tanzania and west Tanzania and east Tanzania. So the purposes of the two roads are quite different. And we should not mix the purposes of these two roads. That's number one. But number two, we did provide to the advisory bodies additional information on downstream impacts. So perhaps wish to hear from them whether the information that they requested was adequate. Another point is on continuation of using using the current earth road. The impacts are enormous, and the impacts of not making a decision now will continue to affect the environment of the property. So whatever you look at it, it's better the road is being upgraded than to leave it the way it is. But I thank the advisory committee that the advisory body that they agreed to come early, and it must be early enough, because if that doesn't happen, the impacts are enormous, and we cannot continue to use this earth road. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. So, as I do not see any more comments from the side of the distinguished committee members, I would like to give the floor to the Secretariat and to the advisory bodies. Should they want to add anything before we move to the adoption of the draft decision? IUCN, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I picked up only one question from the floor coming from the delegate of Tanzania, which was whether the information submitted on downstream impacts was sufficient. Downstream impacts referring to impacts on Serengeti National Park. What has to be understood is that the road in question through Ngorongoro Conservation Area continues through Serengeti. So any upgrade of the road through Ngorongoro will have impacts on the use of the road that goes through the Serengeti. These impacts have not been assessed in the form of a comprehensive EIA, but have been assessed as secondary impacts or indirect impacts from the upgrading of the road that goes through Ngorongoro. And in the view of IUCN, the impacts on Ngorongoro and Serengeti should be assessed comprehensively in one package as direct impacts on both properties rather than indirect impacts on one property resulting from the upgrade of the road through the other property. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. ICOMOS, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In response to the question as to whether the advisory bodies were satisfied with the additional material that was provided by the State Party, I would just like to comment on the issue of the cultural and archaeological sites. If this road is improved, there will be slight changes to its alignment, but we were concerned that in advance of that work being undertaken, there should be a good understanding of the impact on archaeological sites. And we asked for that impact to be taken into account, which would in effect mean providing a survey of the areas that were affected by the road works. At the moment, we don't yet have that information. We have lists of known sites, if I can put it that way, but we do not have impact, the potential impact on sites that might be impacted by the road works. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. It's time now to invite you to adopt the draft decision 41.7b.39 concerning this property. But firstly, I shall ask our rapporteur, Mr. Mohamed Juma, if he has received any amendments on the draft decision proposed. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we have received amendment from distinguished delegate of Zimbabwe. She's proposing to recast a little bit, 2 paragraphs. This draft decision has got 11 paragraphs. So the proposal is to leave paragraph 1 to paragraph 6 as it is, and redraft a little bit paragraph 7, which now the new paragraph reads, takes note of the strategy and the ongoing efforts in the construction of Southern Serengeti-Ngorongoro bypass road to cater for public and commercial transportation. So this is due paragraph 7. Paragraph 8 commends the effort being undertaken by the State Party to currently regulate the passage of heavy commercial vehicles on the Lodware Gate to Golini Road, and welcomes the steps accomplished so far toward hardening of this road for improvement of visitor experience and conservation purpose in line with decision 36.7b35. Also acknowledge the submission of comprehensive ASIA and HIA report on this regard, which includes assessment of downstream impact of opening new borrow pits and restoring wetland and of all non-cultural archaeological sites in conformity with paragraph 172 of Cooperation Guideline. So this recasting of paragraph 7 and paragraph 8, the rest. We have also paragraph 9, Mr. Chairman, sorry. The distinguished delegate of Zimbabwe wanted to put dates. So the new paragraph reads, also requests the State Party to invite a World Heritage Center, ICOMOS, ICROM, and IUCN reactive monitoring mission to the property in August 2017 in order to provide advice to the State Party on the conservation of additional set of footprints discovered at Laitori site. In 2014, proposed Laitori Harmonized Footprint Museum and monitor progress on the road upgrading project and proposed tourism development, as well as review progress in balancing conservation, livelihood, and development needs. So we have recasting of paragraphs 7 and 8 and addition of date and monitoring in paragraph 9. This is what have been done, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And now the floor goes to Angola. Angola, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Angola would like to support the amended decision made by Zimbabwe. We are happy with the way it has been restructured in terms of the need for additional studies, the comprehensive Asia and HIA. We take note of the comments made by UCN in terms of the downstream impacts, and we hope that those downstream impacts should be also covered in the proposed documents. I thank you.
Thank you. Now, Kuwait, the floor is yours, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We would like to support the amendments made by Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you. Turkey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Having listened to the State Party, we also would like to support the proposals made by Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I understand I shall ask advisory. Portugal. Excellency, sorry. The floor is yours.
Thank you. We will join in supporting these alterations on the understanding, nevertheless, as far as Article 7 is concerned, I believe, that we took note of what the representative of Tanzania mentioned, and that due care will be taken concerning the concerns that have been expressed. And on that understanding, we happily support the alterations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. I wonder if there are more interventions from the side of the committee. I see none. Peru. I'm sorry. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias, presidente. La delegación del Perú comprende que las enmiendas no inhiben la disposición del Estado aparte para tener en cuenta las preocupaciones señaladas por ICOMOS y por la USN, que con la nueva redacción de las propuestas de Zimbabue deberían constituir un todo desde el punto de vista conceptual y de las obligaciones que asume el Estado miembro. En ese contexto, señor presidente, la delegación del Perú se suma a las que me han antecedido en el uso de la palabra y respalda el texto propuesto para enmendar el original de la decisión. Gracias, señor presidente.
Gracias. Thank you. And now, Jamaica. Jamaica, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Recognizing the urgency of the matter, we trust the mission can be facilitated as proposed, that is in August 2017, and like other distinguished delegates, we also support the draft. Thank you.
Thank you. Croatia. The floor is yours.
Yes. Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Chair. After having listened to all the arguments, we are ready to support the decision as amended. And may I also add that we have seen a very good example how things are solved and dealt with, and then we would like to see it applied in further cases as such. Thank you.
Thank you. Cuba, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Nosotros también apoyamos este proyecto de decisión. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. The Republic of Korea wishes to have the floor. The floor is yours, Korea.
Thank you, Chair. Republic of Korea would like to support the decision as amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more interventions? I see none. So I shall pass the floor to advisory bodies if needed. I wonder if the date of the mission is acceptable for you. Yes.
Thank you, Mr.
You have the
Chair.
floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to confirm that we will do our best to organize the mission in August 2017 as requested. One further point in Decision 7, which takes note of the strategy and the ongoing efforts on the construction of the bypass. We would just like to flag up we're not aware of having received a strategy. Perhaps there's a misunderstanding of what is meant by that. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we do visit this draft decision proposal step by step, I would like once again ask the United Republic of Tanzania if you would like to respond to the question or if you have any comment or not.
In the previous decision, the advisory bodies mixed up the purposes of the southern bypass and the road that we intend to upgrade. And saying we should not continue with upgrading, waiting for the southern bypass. What we are saying is, I think they for the first time they noted that there was another road being built, southern part of Ngorongoro, and thought it will help solve the problems of the reasons why we want to upgrade this road. So what we are saying, they noted there's that improvement, which has nothing to do with the road that we intend to upgrade. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So now I understand we are ready to analyze step by step all the points. Shall we start with the beginning? Para 1, adopted. Para 2, para 3, para 4, para 5, para 6, intact, adopted. Para 7. Adopted as amended. Para 8. Adopted as amended. Para 9. Adopted as amended. Para 10. Adopted. Para 11. Adopted. It means that I declare decision 41 com 7b dot 39 adopted. I will now invite Mr. Edmond Mukala to read the list of the properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. Mr. Mukala, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. The list of properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion is the ecosystem of relic cultural landscape of Lope Okanda in Gabon, the Maloti Drakensberg Park in Lesotho and South Africa. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. If there is no objection from the committee on those state of conservation reports, and I do see none, I declare that the decisions read out adopted. And I would like now to ask whether an observer delegation would like to express themselves about one of the properties for which we have adopted the decision without discussion. I understand. No, not at this very moment. I see. We shall be patient. So, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Mukala. for your cooperation and for your essential support. And now we do start with item 7b, culture, Europe and North America first today. And I would like to invite Mrs. Isabel Anatole Gabriel to present the reports on the state of conservation of the cultural properties located in the Europe and North America region, opened for discussion. I understand that we do start with Historic Center of Vienna, Austria. Madam, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Bonjour à tous. Effectivement, nous commençons par le Centre historique de Vienne. L'état de conservation du Centre historique de Vienne a été discuté par le Comité régulièrement au cours de la dernière décennie, et notamment lors de ces deux dernières sessions, en 2015 et 2016, en raison des préoccupations sur les effets négatifs potentiels sur la valeur universelle exceptionnelle du bien, de projets de développement de grande ampleur, à savoir le projet Club de patinage de Vienne, Hôtel intercontinental, salle de concert de Vienne, les projets dans le secteur de Karlplatz, c'est-à-dire d'importantes modifications du musée de Vienne et du bâtiment Winterthur, ainsi que le cadre juridique inadéquat de contrôle de la planification et des développements s'appliquant aux biens. À la suite de la réception par le secrétariat du rapport de l'État partie sur l'état de conservation du bien, l'ICOMOS et le Centre du patrimoine mondial ont demandé des informations visuelles sur ces projets. Les visualisations soumises par l'État partie, ainsi que l'évaluation d'impact sur le patrimoine reçue pour le projet Club de patinage de Vienne, Hôtel intercontinental, salle de concert, ont été évaluées par l'organisme consultatif ICOMOS et prises en compte dans l'analyse et les conclusions présentées dans le rapport sur l'état de conservation. Une dernière information additionnelle au rapport de l'État partie sur l'état de conservation du site a été prise en compte dans l'analyse présentée. Il s'agit d'une résolution du 5 mai dernier du Conseil municipal de Vienne qui spécifie en substance que les mesures de planification urbaine prises pour l'évolution du centre-ville dans le futur ne devront pas compromettre l'authenticité du bien et que les bâtiments de grande hauteur ainsi que les ajouts ne seront pas autorisés dans le premier district municipal dit Innere Stadt. L'État partie a néanmoins spécifié que cette résolution ne s'appliquait pas à la zone couverte par le plan directeur pour le glacis, zone dans laquelle se situe le projet Club de patinage de Vienne, Hôtel intercontinental, salle de concert de Vienne. Enfin, le Centre du patrimoine mondial reçoit toujours un nombre important de lettres émanant de la société civile qui font part de leurs inquiétudes eu égard aux projets de développement précités en raison de leur impact sur l'intégrité visuelle du bien Centre historique de Vienne. Monsieur le Président, le projet de décision présenté pour examen par les membres du comité propose d'inscrire le bien sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en péril. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je crois que l'ICOMOS a des commentaires à faire sur l'état de conservation. Merci.
Merci, Madame. So now, ICOMOS. ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The quantum and scale of urban developments, including new high-rise buildings in the historic centre of Vienna, which would be allowed by current development controls, have reached a critical level, thereby threatening the property's authenticity, integrity and outstanding universal value. Planning provisions and guidelines adopted by the Vienna City Council, particularly the High-Rise Concept 2014, allow for a significant increase in the building height and density within the property and its buffer zone. These provisions allow for developments of a location, form and scale that is inconsistent with the historic built form and which would also affect the historic cityscape when observed from distant views. A recently approved development is a watershed moment for the historic city of Vienna and ultimately the authenticity, integrity and outstanding universal value of the property. The Vienna Ice Skating Club Intercontinental Hotel Vienna Concert House development will affect both the close urban context and more distant visitors towards the Vienna Historic Centre from the Belvedere Gardens, and will further exacerbate accumulated impacts beyond the threshold at which the outstanding universal value of this property is irreversibly affected. The changes made to this development since it was last considered by the committee are insufficient to comply with the 2015 mission recommendations and the 2016 committee decision. The minimal reduction of height by only 8.7 metres, that is from 75 metres to 66.3 metres, and the amended footprint of the residential component are negligible compared to the total project height, the number of stories and the building volume. The City Council of Vienna has now actually passed the necessary resolution to create the legal basis for this development to proceed. Other current projects may also affect the outstanding universal value of the property, including those mentioned by the World Heritage Centre, such as proposed changes to 2 buildings in the Karstplatz area, the Wien Museum and the De Winterhunter building. There continues to be a fundamental problem with the planning framework for the property. Therefore, to protect the outstanding universal value of the property, it is essential and urgent not only to stop the Vienna Ice Skating Club Intercontinental Hotel Vienna Concert House development from being built, but also and particularly to change the planning documents and guidelines which have enabled this highly inappropriate project to be conceived and developed. At the previous session of the committee, it was noted that changes to the planning controls were urgent to prevent other inappropriate development proposals if the current serious and specific danger to the property is to be averted. As the Centre has observed, in early May, the City Council of Vienna also passed a resolution seeking to limit high-rise development within the property, but this resolution does not cover areas outside the first municipal district, the Innenstadt. That is, this resolution does not even cover the full extent of the inscribed property. This resolution does not reverse the existing high-rise approvals, and this resolution could simply be reversed by another resolution of the City Council at any time. Despite previous indications that the problematic planning controls would be addressed, there has actually been no substantive action taken to repeal or amend them. These controls present a potential danger to the outstanding universal value of the property within the meaning of paragraph 179B of the operational guidelines. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, ICOMOS. And now invite the committee members to express their comments, and we do start with Lebanon. Excellence, Lebanon, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Liban voudrait intervenir sur ce dossier et moi-même, je voudrais intervenir également puisque je suis probablement le membre de ce comité qui est le plus ancien membre du comité et qui donc connaît un peu l'historique de ce bien. Ce bien a été inscrit sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en 2001. C'était ma première réunion de comité à Helsinki. Lorsqu'il a été inscrit, il était défini clairement dans la décision d'inscription que le comité demandait à l'État partie d'établir un contrôle strict des hauteurs et des volumétries autour du bien de façon à protéger la valeur universelle exceptionnelle du bien. Un an après, exactement un an après, apparaît un projet qui s'appelait Vienne Mitte avec des gratte-ciel et des bâtiments de grande hauteur. Le comité s'est emparé de ce point et, conformément à la Convention, a menacé de retirer le bien de la liste du patrimoine mondial, puisqu'il est bien clair dans la Convention que lorsqu'il y a des règles qui sont définies au moment de l'inscription du bien et que l'État partie enfreint ces règles, le comité peut retirer le bien de la liste du patrimoine mondial. Bon. Après ça, il y a eu des négociations, il y a eu de longues négociations. Le projet a été revu, il y a eu un concours, le projet a été abaissé. Malheureusement, nous avons dû accepter une tour un peu réduite, mais quand même. Et suite à ça, il y a eu ce qu'on a appelé toute une discussion à l'intérieur du comité et avec la ville de Vienne et avec les responsables du patrimoine concernant un colloque qui s'est tenu à Vienne même, qui s'est appelé, qui a approuvé le mémorandum de Vienne, Vienna Memorandum, qui définit justement comment il faut pouvoir protéger des ensembles urbains par rapport à des bâtiments grande hauteur, etc., etc. Et suite à ce Vienna Memorandum, a commencé un processus qui a abouti au HUL, c'est-à-dire à l'approbation par la conférence générale de la recommandation sur les paysages urbains historiques. Tout ça a commencé avec Vienne. Bon. Aujourd'hui, nous revenons 15 ans en arrière. Nous nous retrouvons face à une situation comme si tout ce processus n'avait pas existé. Le problème n'est pas seulement celui du club de patinage et de l'hôtel intercontinental. Il s'agit beaucoup plus profondément de la conception même de quelle est la valeur universelle exceptionnelle d'un bien comme ça, comment le protéger, comment assurer la protection de son authenticité et, excusez-moi, je vais terminer, de son authenticité, pardon, et de son intégrité. Bon. Il est aujourd'hui important que le comité lance un appel très clair et une décision très claire au Conseil municipal de Vienne que cette situation ne peut pas continuer. Il y va non seulement de la crédibilité du comité, mais de la crédibilité de l'UNESCO globalement, puisque la conférence générale a adopté une recommandation, puisqu'il y a toute une série de décisions depuis 15 ans à propos de ce sujet-là. Nous ne pouvons plus revenir en arrière. Et c'est étrange parce que nous pensions je pensais personnellement qu'avec la discussion que nous avions eue avec les responsables à Vienne, dans un pays où il y a réellement des gens intéressés au patrimoine, qui savent comment gérer un patrimoine. L'Autriche n'est pas un pays sous-développé qui manque de moyens ou qui manque de formation. Il y a toutes les formations qui sont là, tout le monde sait comment faire. Simplement, il faut que le comité envoie un message clair. Merci.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much indeed also for this very broad context of Vienna, of reminding us Vienna Memorandum as a certain catalyst, leading us also to HUL, to Historic Urban Landscape Recommendation of UNESCO of 2011, which we do bear in mind. But we do continue the discussion. Finland is the next. Finland, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. We were discussing this case extensively during the last session of the committee. The Historic Center of Vienna has a special place when addressing matters on historic urban landscape, as was also pointed out by my Lebanese colleague now and already a year ago. With this comes also a certain amount of responsibility. Despite the state parties' attempt to resolve the situation, the fact remains that the problems arise like skyscrapers from the ground, and a strong message from the committee is needed to arrive at a sustainable solution to the situation. Finland supports the draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Portugal. Portugal has the floor.
Thank you very much. After we heard our colleague from Lebanon, Mr. Tabet, I don't think there's much to say. This is indeed a very frustrating issue that goes far beyond Vienna. And it has a number of structural and strategic, it affects a number of structural and strategic dimensions of the Convention. Of course, we regret that the City Council of Vienna has not addressed the serious concerns that we have clearly identified over the years. And since 2001, we have repeatedly recommended the State Party to undertake the necessary measures to review the height and volume of new developments in the city. Well, 16 years have passed and we are still discussing the same issues, no matter the decisions of this committee and the recommendations of various missions to the property. Not only is there an obvious contempt for this committee's decisions, as some of the arguments put forward are, to say the least, of little credibility. Some are even quite ridiculous. You know, when you talk about justifying the height and the volume of the complex of the Vienna Ice Skating Club, the hotel and the concert house as something that would enhance Vienna as capital of music, or the negligible reduction of the Vienna Ice Skating Club. Well, it would be laughable if this was not very serious. Regrettably, because Vienna is and should stay a beautiful city, I join others in agreeing with the recommendation to inscribe the property on the danger list, hoping that this will finally help the concerned entities in Austria, the State Party and the Vienna authorities, to very seriously commit to this issue and address the challenges in an appropriate and effective way. I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. And now the floor goes to Poland. Poland, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Of course, having very warm feelings for Vienna, unfortunately, we have to say that large investment pressure in Vienna causes changes in the historic substance and structure of the city. This is a process that has lasted for years, at least since inscription on the World Heritage List in 2001. It has recently been strengthened by the weakening of spatial planning rules in this beautiful city. Poland also regrets that the State Party has problems implementing reactive monitoring mission and World Heritage Committee decisions. Changes that have already taken place in the city structure and those that are planned in the near future have serious deterioration of architectural or town planning coherence. The weakening of spatial planning rules in Vienna poses even more serious threat to town planning on the OUV of the site. We hope that listening on the World Heritage List in danger will help to solve the difficult and complex investment issues of the historic center of Vienna. We would like to strongly stress that the planned investments and lacks in the town planning will irreversibly affect the OUV and only the historic city center of Vienna, but also probably in the wider context of palaces, palais and gardens of Schönbrunn, second World Heritage Site in Vienna. We hope that listening on the World Heritage in danger can help to develop new tools to guide the development process towards sustainable development. So as it's sounded, we support the draft decision for Historic Center of Vienna. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now Croatia. Croatia has the floor.
Well, Croatia will support the draft decision, and we do not have further comments. The honorable representative of Lebanon has said practically everything. But allow us, Mr. Chair, to take this opportunity to try to raise some important questions that would, and we would really appreciate it, be a discussion topic of the committee in the near future. We would indeed like to raise the question of terminology used and categories of endangered monuments. We have earlier, yesterday mostly, seen what the sites in danger are. Sites in danger, first of all, are those where bombs explode. Sites in danger are those where people come with hammers and destroy on purpose. And believe me, I'm saying this from recent personal experience in my country. We do not feel that Vienna applies for this category in reality. We do not think that a sudden change of skyline endangers the site so much. As a matter of fact, Mr. Chair, we could even say that Vienna was endangered the first time, if we adopt the same way of thinking, when building the Stephansdom, much oversized for that time. In fact, who is causing this endangerment? The decision makers of the site, the town of Vienna, their own people. Against are the stakeholders, the NGOs, who, paradoxically, have elected those same policymakers. Definitely, it is a different kind of endangerment. So, Mr. Chair, we do repeat, we agree with the proposed decision, but we take this opportunity to urge a discussion on terminology used, on introducing different subcategories in the future. Putting all sites on the same list makes it less effective for those affected by wars, for example. Thank you.
Thank you. There is no doubt that the case of Vienna has a broader context. No doubt about that. Jamaica has the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I will be very brief because I think most of the comments have already been addressed. We just wanted to note that the state party's non-compliance with the requests outlined in decisions from the 40th session concerning lack of change in existing planning controls is unacceptable. And we therefore support the draft decision and hope that the state party takes this action as an opportunity to rescue the OUV of the site. Thank you.
Thank you. The United Republic of Tanzania wishes to get the floor. The floor is yours, Tanzania.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Tanzania delegation would want to intervene, but also to share the sentiments already presented by other delegates. It's a very, very unfortunate situation that the committee is in, as it has been said by the others. We see a lot of threats that threaten the outstanding investor value. We see that the third party is not committed to the decisions that were given by this committee. And we see there are a number of requests from the advisory bodies on what should be done. And there is a decision to put the site on the danger list. Our delegation, from a technical point of view, is asking itself, if we put this site on danger list, what corrective measures are we putting? These corrective measures will be implementable. Should we just put the site on the danger list because it's a procedural way? I do go in line with the delegate from Croatia that we have to look into other means of trying to solve such problems. My suggestion, which of course is different from others, would be to defer this decision and the advisory bodies work with the state party or without the state party, trying to see what will be the corrective measures. And if these corrective measures are not implementable, then we take a decision to delist the property. This would be my suggestion. That will be the suggestion of the Tanzania delegation. Thank you for this.
Thank you, sir. Now, Peru. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. La delegación del Perú respalda el proyecto de decisión. Y no voy a fundamentar aspectos específicos de la situación del sitio, ni de la afectación de su estructura urbanística y arquitectónica en términos de significar un peligro potencial y real al BUE y a la condición de autenticidad, porque esto ya lo han hecho los colegas que me han antecedido en la palabra, el órgano consultivo y el Centro del Patrimonio Mundial, independientemente que el propio proyecto de decisión es bastante explicativo en función de cuáles son las razones para plantear su inscripción en la lista en peligro. Solo quisiera señalar, señor presidente, que la Convención hace que este comité sea un órgano de normas y que como tal tiene la responsabilidad de ejecutar las disposiciones de la Convención. Ese es el límite y la posibilidad de nuestro trabajo. Y según la Convención, la lista en peligro está constituida por aquellos bienes que son objeto de potenciales o reales amenazas a la conservación del BUE o las condiciones de integridad y de autenticidad, y que la gestión del Estado parte es manifiestamente insuficiente para resolver esos problemas. Y es allí donde el comité está capacitado para adoptar la decisión de incluirlo en la lista en peligro, que, con un símil en la medicina, es el hospital al cual se envía a un enfermo que ya no puede ser tratado por un médico ambulatorio. Consecuentemente, y de manera independiente a las causas por las cuales se afecta el BUE de un bien, lo específico es el comprobar que la gestión y las responsabilidades del Estado miembro se tornan insuficientes para esa preservación. Y este es el caso, señor presidente. Gracias.
Gracias. Philippines. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Much has been said about this property, but very briefly, we support the draft decision, express the hope that through this very strong message of the acceptance and the acceptance, hopefully, of the state party to be part of the danger list, efforts should be redoubled to preserve the importance and beauty of this historic center. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. And now the floor goes to Lebanon again. Mr. Tabet.
Excusez-moi, Monsieur le Président, de reprendre la parole à nouveau pour deux petits points. Évidemment, l'intervention du respecté délégué de Croatie concernant la différence entre des sites inscrits sur la liste du patrimoine en péril, comme par exemple Alep ou d'autres listes, ou des cités détruites, et un cas comme Vienne existe. Mais heureusement que le comité n'étudie pas et ne discute pas uniquement que de projets tels que, aussi dramatiques que ceux d'Alep ou des villes de Libye ou des villes du Yémen. Heureusement qu'il y a également d'autres villes qui vivent dans des conditions, disons, plus normales, et où le comité doit intervenir pour essayer de protéger la valeur de ces biens. Par ailleurs, en réponse à l'intervention du distingué délégué de Tanzanie qui demande que faire et en quoi le fait de l'inscrire sur la liste du patrimoine en péril peut aider, tout simplement l'expérience de Vienne le montre. Lorsque, en 2002, le comité du patrimoine mondial s'est saisi du cas de Vienne et a demandé que le projet, de façon très forte, avec un message très fort, que le projet de Vienne-Mitte soit revu, le projet a été revu. Bien qu'il y ait eu déjà une approbation du conseil municipal, bien qu'il y ait eu déjà un accord avec l'investisseur, etc., le projet a été revu et a été refait de façon à mieux respecter la valeur universelle du bien. Donc, ce que nous voulons faire, c'est envoyer un message fort de façon à ce que, justement, ce projet soit revu et que tout l'ensemble des règles concernant les bâtiments de grande hauteur, etc., soit revu par la ville de Vienne de façon à mieux protéger la valeur universelle du bien. Merci.
Thank you. I do not see any more comments from the side of the distinguished committee members. So now I would like to give the floor to ICOMOS again. ICOMOS, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to respond briefly to some of the matters raised by the committee member interventions in relation to the comments from the Honourable Delegate from Croatia, It's true that there are different circumstances and reasons for adding a property to the list of World Heritage in danger. Many of the horrendous circumstances that have been discussed earlier in this session relate to ascertained danger under paragraph 179A of the operational guidelines. The operational guidelines provides a framework in which the advisory bodies provide their advice, and in relation to the subject property, our advice is that it is actually under paragraph 179B. It is a potential danger, and it is specifically caused by the continuing presence and operation of the relevant statutory provisions and guidelines that allow such developments. In relation to the intervention from the Honourable Delegate from Tanzania, I would like to highlight firstly that the draft decision provides a process for setting out the desired state of conservation, and it would need to engage very specifically with matters such as the location, form and scale of developments that are allowed, noting that the existing provisions are not consistent with the outstanding universal value of the property. It was in fact the position of the committee last year that there should be engagement between the centre, the advisory bodies and the state party, and that has in fact occurred. There has been engagement and liaison, but the reality is that only negligible changes have been made to the worst of the proposed, in fact approved developments, and the relevant controls and guidelines have not been changed. Hence the draft decision that proposes in danger listing under paragraph 179B. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And now I invite you to adopt the draft decision 41 COM 7B.42 concerning this property. Mr. the Rapporteur, Mr. Juma, have you received any amendments on the draft decision proposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have not received an amendment for this proposal decision.
Thank you. Can go on. So if so, the situation is very, very clear, not saying easy. I declare decision 41 COM 7B.42 adopted. And now it's time to ask if this distinguished state party wishes to take the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Austria,
Chair.
the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished members of the committee, on behalf of the Austrian State Party, allow me to state that efforts have been made to raise awareness for the requirements of World Heritage and to advise the legal and administrative authorities of the historic centre of Vienna. As Austria is a federal republic, all provisions related to building legislation, urban development and townscape protection are within sole legal competence of the local authorities. Therefore, I pass the floor to the representative of the Viennese municipality.
Dear members of the committee, as a citizen of Vienna and a site manager, I'm proud that Vienna is on the World Heritage List. I am absolutely convinced it's a huge responsibility to protect the OOE of the city centre of Vienna. I am therefore surprised why the following two main issues in the draft decision are criticized. Firstly, the city of Vienna reacted to the last year decision of the committee and revised the so-called ice skate project. I'm talking about the height of this building that was reduced, the footprint was reduced as well. But secondly, reacting to the last year's Istanbul decision, it's the highest political body in Vienna, the Vienna City Council, decided that in the future the whole core and buffer zone is an exclusion zone for high-rise buildings. This decision, taken on 1st of June of this year, is a binding on the utmost highest legal level. Therefore, the high-rise concept and the master plan classes are overruled in this point. This is exactly what was claimed last year by the committee in Istanbul. This decision of the highest political body is not sufficiently considered in the draft as well. Therefore, I want to appeal to you as distinguished members of the committee to rethink and revise this draft decision. Vienna should not stand on the list of World Heritage in danger. We are proud of our World Heritage, And I am convinced that we have to find a common solution how we can achieve this balance between development and protection. To be on the list of World Heritage in danger will not help us to achieve this goal. Thank you.
Thank you. And now it's time for NGO. Madam, the floor is yours. If you could kindly just introduce yourself, and you have 2 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I'm grateful to be able to take the floor here, not in my function as a member of the government of Vienna, but in my function as president of the National Committee of Blue Shield. And I want again to draw your attention to the following. On June the 1st, 2017, the majority of the City Parliament has decided upon the Land Use and Development Plan allowing to build a high-rise building in combination with a new construction of the Hotel Intercont on the former ground of the ice skating area in Vienna. They did so in full awareness that this project is in contradiction to the World Heritage Convention, which Austria signed in the year 1992, and in full conviction that it is not complying with the obligations the city of Vienna took over in 2001 by her own wish, including the first world district into the zone of World Heritage. As a member of the city government, I am only astonished about the argument my colleague from the city government, now a senior officer, brought forward. The resolution is not worthwhile the paper it is printed on. That is nothing. I appeal to your committee, I appeal to the distinguished members of this committee not to bow to this argument and to stick to your principles, because there is more at stake than the World Heritage area in Vienna. There is at stake the credibility of UNESCO, the credibility of the World Heritage. And for that reason, I plead to you, put Vienna on the red list as a warning signal and a prejudice against any violation of World Heritage, wherever it is violated. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. It has been just done. Thank you also for your time management. I'm not surprised with time management of Madame Ursula Stenzel. Heute Journal. Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, if so, the next... I'm sorry. The next speaker will be Dr. Mechthild Rezle. The floor goes to Dr. Rezle. I would be grateful for your comment concerning this very moment of our discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I will not comment on the specific case, but on the comments made by Croatia, Lebanon, and Peru, and the interesting question raised by Croatia of potentially subdividing the list of World Heritage in danger. Now, the drafters of the convention have made a very interesting article, 11.4, on the list of World Heritage in danger, and they have already foreseen serious and specific dangers, for example, large-scale public or private projects, and in the same article also armed conflict. So this is what the committee is doing, placing sites which are under these threats in one single list, which is the list of World Heritage in danger. Thank you very much, but I'm happy to further discuss with you if need be.
Thank you. And now we continue. We go further on. Number 49, Culture and Historic Ensemble of the Solovetsky Islands, Russian Federation. I would like to invite Mrs. Anna Sidorenko, Program Specialist at the Europe and North America Unit of the World Heritage Center, to present to us the next report. Madame, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le rapport sur l'état de conservation du bien l'ensemble historique, culturel et naturel des îles Solovetsky, Fédération de Russie, présente les facteurs menaçant le bien qui se résument de la manière suivante. La majeure partie du régime hydrologique de l'archipel a été négligée et la pratique traditionnelle de régulation de l'eau a été perdue, conduisant à des modifications dramatiques du paysage. Importante pression due au développement s'exerce sur l'île principale, sans que l'impact cumulatif général soit apprécié et sans que les cadres de planification nécessaires soient mis en place. Le rapport souligne néanmoins que des progrès ont été réalisés par l'État partie, qui a publié un décret portant création d'un groupe de travail pour classer l'archipel et les territoires voisins en tant qu'objet du patrimoine culturel d'importance fédérale, notamment au titre des sites religieux et historiques. Le rapport recommande au comité de demander à l'État partie d'inviter une mission conjointe de suivi réactif du Centre du patrimoine mondial et ICOMOS pour examiner l'état de conservation du bien. Compte tenu de la vulnérabilité de l'environnement de l'archipel, il est également recommandé qu'un représentant de l'IUCN participe à la mission. Depuis la publication du rapport, le Centre du patrimoine mondial a reçu, en juin dernier, les informations émanant de l'État partie concernant des plans révisés pour le bâtiment de l'ensemble muséal. L'ensemble de la documentation a été soumis pour examen à l'ICOMOS. Avec votre permission, Monsieur le Président, l'ICOMOS présentera les résultats de l'évaluation technique des informations reçues de la part de l'État partie. Je vous remercie beaucoup.
Thank you, Madam. And now the floor goes to ICOMOS. ICOMOS, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The large monastery on the main island of the Solovetsky archipelago has in recent years been revived as a national pilgrim centre that attracts significant numbers of pilgrims. The landscape around it has been shaped by monastic activities since the 15th century, and particularly by monastic routes and a complex irrigation system of canals and lakes. Although the development strategy for the Solovetsky archipelago recognizes it as a unique site of spiritual, historical, cultural and natural heritage, and although significant efforts have been made to address the recommendations of the last reactive monitoring mission, significant gaps still remain. The islands have three distinct communities: the monastic brethren, pilgrims and other visitors, and the local communities, all with different and at times competing needs. The management plan does not yet fully reflect the complexity of the overall cultural landscape, and there is pressure to upgrade housing and other facilities on the island through the construction of an airport, docks, blocks of flats for residents, a new hospital and a new school. Aspirations are to some extent ahead of the planning tools. As the master plan and the development plan are not yet aligned, the management plan does not take a landscape approach, and the proposed new constructions are being considered one by one rather than through a coordinated approach to the overall development of the islands. Given the particular sensitivity of this remote archipelago, an urgent issue is to determine the carrying capacity of the island in terms of their ability to absorb development without compromising their sense of spirituality, remoteness and beauty, as well as their nature conservation interest. One specific conservation issue that remains to be resolved is the proposal for a new museum, for which construction started without the approval of this committee. Work has been halted, and there are plans to reconfigure the structures so far built. Given the sensitivity of its location, which is intervisible with the main building of the monastery, the recommendation before you is to consider a more appropriate location and design. A reactive monitoring mission is proposed to allow discussion and consideration of all these issues, and in particular the long-term vision for the archipelago and how its management and planning systems can be made as effective as possible. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam. And now I invite the committee members to express their comments. Kazakhstan is the first. Kazakhstan, the floor is yours, Excellency.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have heard now reports from World Heritage Center and ICOMOS. As you know, we have submitted a small amendment. Since the new revised plan for museum complex of Solovetsky Islands ensemble, as well its heritage impact assessment for the updated project of the museum complex of the OUV have been submitted just recently, and it was now confirmed by World Heritage Center. To the consideration of the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS, our delegation proposes not to reflect conclusions on this issue at this stage and submits the relevant amendment to paragraph 8 of the draft decision. If this draft decision or amendments could go to the screen, I would like to ask Rapporteur, Mr. Chair. And we consider it expedient to wait for the results of the invited World Heritage Center ICOMOS reactive monitoring mission to the property and for the progress report of the state party to be submitted to the World Heritage Center by 1st of December 2017. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, Vietnam. Vietnam wishes to have the floor. The floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, the Vietnamese delegation wishes to commend the effort and progress made by the State Party to address the decision by the committee, such as amendments have been made to the master plan and the management plan, and the Arkhangelsk region has developed a roadmap for their implementation in 2017 and 2018. Also, the State Party has revised a plan for the museum building and submitted to ICOMOS for the latter to review it. Additionally, the State Party is ready to invite a joint reactive monitoring mission to the property. Therefore, we share the view that there is a need to give more time for the State Party to carry out its conservation commitments, as well as to give more time for ICOMOS to review the submitted revised plan. With this in mind, we support the draft amendment proposed by Kazakhstan. I thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you. Finland wishes to have the floor. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Finland would like to commend the State Party on the progress made on the development of the master plan. There are, however, also plenty of issues that need to be addressed, namely the challenges with the monastic irrigation system and several development projects. Interestingly, many of the construction projects are connected to tourism facilities and museum buildings, something that this property has in common with the State Party's upcoming well-prepared nomination of the Assumption Cathedral of the town island of Sviazhsk, recommended for inscription. It seems that the State Party of Russia and ICOMOS have somewhat different perspectives in these museum and tourist development matters. In our view, these issues could be resolved through a dialogue between these two parties. We encourage the State Party to invite the World Heritage Center ICOMOS reactive monitoring mission to the property. Thank you.
Thank you. The United Republic of Tanzania. The floor is yours, Tanzania. Sir.
Thank you, Your Excellency Chair. Tanzania delegation would also to congratulate and commend for the work done by the State Party on various issues. But we also see that there are still a lot of challenges and a lot of problems that actually might lead the property to be threatened. In the analysis of the advisory body, we see that most of the hydrological regime of the archipelago has been neglected for more than a century. And to me, I don't know whether should be the condition of this area. And their recommendation is to try to see now if the State Party can come out with a plan, a well-defined plan, implement and secure resources so that measures are taken. This is an area where a property is in danger, is going into threaten the activities issues. And here is a situation where the committee, we have been informed by the committee of these dangers, these threats. The delegation of Tanzania now will suggest that because we know ICOMOS has many roles, but two important ones. One is an advisor to the committee, but the other one should also be an advisor to state party. This invited Joint World Heritage Center and the ICOMOS Active Monitoring Mission should work with the state party on the corrective measures so that we don't wait and want to support the site when it's already in danger. These corrective measures, once presented to this committee, then we have an opportunity and the possibility of looking for funds to see if we can now support the property. And that one will be in line with the para 183 to 189 of the operational guidelines. Excellency Chair, our delegation wishes to submit.
Thank you, sir. Now Portugal. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I listened carefully to what both the Centre and ICOMOS have said, and obviously a number of concerns. But it has also been mentioned by several delegations, and that's also my understanding, that there has been an evolution in some of important aspects of this issue. And for instance, that a revised plan for the museum has been submitted and is being discussed with the Centre and ICOMOS. So I think that the important thing would be, Mr. President, and I'd like to suggest it through you, for you to invite the representative of the Russian Federation to tell us what are exactly the intentions of his authorities and the state of play of this issue. And then we can proceed from there, because up to the moment we have been speculating about intentions. Let's have it, with all due respect, from the horse's mouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for your very wise advice. But we have still distinguished members of the committee ready to take the floor. Turkey is the next. Turkey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we all know, Slovakia Islands comprise a group of islands within the Slovakia archipelago, and the extent of the World Heritage Sites make conservation and management work more complicated. In this context, Turkey acknowledged the state party for their response to some of the decisions of the World Heritage Committee. The steps taken by the state party of Russian Federation since the last committee session, including the progress of the development of the master plan and management plan, classification of the archipelago and adjoining territories as cultural heritage objects of federal significance, namely as religious and historical sites. It's also notable that heritage impact assessment will be undertaken for all major projects. Various development projects in the Slovakia main island and current negative condition of the monastic irrigation system are priority issues that need to be taken into account in the conservation planning of this World Heritage Site. A more appropriate design and location for the museum building is also required. Considering the complexity of the site, Turkey believes that the state party of Russian Federation will follow up the recommendations of the committee and will continue to enhance the state of conservation of the Slovakia island. Thank you.
Thank you. Azerbaijan now. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Azerbaijan also commends the measures of the state party to protect the site, namely by the development of the master plan and the management plan. And also Azerbaijan further encouraged the state party to work on the heritage impact assessment, as it is already, and there are assurances of that. And we also would like to welcome the decision of the Russian Federation to invite joint World Heritage ICOMOS reactive monitoring mission to the site. And we believe that all these measures shows the readiness and the commitment of the Russian Federation to follow up all those recommendations of the committee taken previously. In this regard, my delegation supports the amendments to the draft decision proposed by Kazakhstan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now Croatia. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Croatia welcomes efforts of the State Party in revitalizing the whole ensemble of the whole Solovetsky Islands, being aware that it takes time to fulfill the requests of the committee. We encourage, therefore, the State Party to continue in this direction, and we salute the changes, for example, in the project of the museum, which were already presented. And at the end, we hope that the foreseen monitoring mission can help in implementation and avoiding of potential mistakes in the process. At the end, we support the proposal of the amendment to the draft decision made by the delegation of Kazakhstan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now Poland wishes to have the floor. The floor is yours, Poland.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, we would like to congratulate the State Party for finishing work on the retrospective statement of OUV that will be adopted on the session. However, would like to strongly support requests to invite a joint World Heritage Center reactive monitoring mission to the property. There is an urgent need to long-term conservation plan for whole site. The state of conservation of the hydrological regime of the archipelago is not sufficient. The neglected hydrological system in a longer perspective can have strong, irreversible influence on all attributes of the property. We also recognize the urgent need to better conservation of pilgrimage path and vernacular architecture as a part of the site. We also want to encourage State Party to stop at and reanalyze the new investments on their archipelago. Thank you.
Thank you, Poland. Now, Lebanon. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Pour ne pas répéter ce qui vient d'être dit par les distingués collègues, je souhaite surtout entendre, comme vient de le dire le représentant du Portugal, le représentant de la Fédération de Russie expliquer l'évolution de leurs propositions pour améliorer la situation dans le site de Solovetsky. Merci.
Thank you. We are approaching this very moment, but we have still Tunisia wishing to take the floor. Tunisia, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ma délégation constate avec satisfaction les efforts faits par l'État partie pour appliquer et se conformer aux recommandations du comité. Et nous nous joignons à la demande d'écouter l'État partie pour nous rendre compte de ces efforts en vue d'appliquer les recommandations et de se conformer aux recommandations du comité. Merci.
Merci. Thank you, Ambassador. Thanks. Now I would like to give the floor to the State Party, to the Ambassador of the Russian Federation, who is with us today. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, let me seize this opportunity to thank our Polish hosts for their hospitality and excellent organization of this meeting. I would also like to inform the distinguished committee members about the measures which are being taken by the State Party of Russia in order to meet the concerns and recommendations of World Heritage Center and ICOMOS concerning the construction of a museum on the territory of the Solovetsky Islands. We need this museum, firstly, in order to separate the religious and the museological parts of this complex. This is necessary for normal monastic life. And secondly, we need to have enough space to exhibit a great number of articles concerning the period when this monastery was a prisoner's camp, described by many authors, including Nobel Prize winner Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Quite recently, we submitted to World Heritage Center a revised plan for the construction of this museum and its impact assessment on the outstanding universal value of the site. In order to meet the ICOMOS recommendations, our goal was to hide the main volume of the museum in the landscape by means of lowering substantially the level of the above-ground part of the building. Thus, the impact on the visual integrity will be minimized. For this purpose, the already built first and second floors structures will be dismantled. In conclusion, I'd like to note that as of now, all construction works are stopped, and we confirm our readiness to continue to consult with the UNESCO World Heritage Center and ICOMOS on the implementation of this project, as well as on other substantial issues. We have already invited World Heritage Center and ICOMOS a reactive monitoring mission to examine our project. I hope that the distinguished members of the committee will support and encourage our joint efforts to achieve the best possible practical solutions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you also for reminding us the intangible meaning of so-called Sołowki Island. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed for that. It is important. And now Cuba wishes to have the floor. The floor is yours.
Gracias, señor presidente. Después de haber escuchado la respuesta que ha dado el Estado parte con relación a preocupaciones que se han expresado tanto en el proyecto de decisión como comentadas por los distinguidos miembros de este comité, Cuba realmente considera que hay un compromiso con solucionar los problemas del sitio y solo me gustaría pedir en ese caso que se diera a conocer, se presentara la solicitud de modificación propuesta por la delegación de Kazajstán. Dziękuję.
Thank you. Portugal, Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, I wish first to hear what the ambassador of the Russian Federation had to say, and it was along the lines that I expected, so we commend the Russian Federation for its serious efforts to address the concerns of the committee, including the important matter of the construction of the museum, and also the invitation already extended for a reactive monitoring mission. And we encourage all stakeholders to proceed on this very encouraging path. And we look forward to see the draft proposal presented by Kazakhstan and discuss the new paragraph 8 then. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, Peru. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Mi delegación no intervino anteriormente porque quería escuchar el informe actualizado del embajador Kuznetsov. Creo que todas las delegaciones que me han antecedido en el uso de la palabra, de manera unánime, han concurrido, han coincidido en apreciar los esfuerzos realizados por el Estado parte para ejecutar las recomendaciones del comité en relación a la preservación del BUE de las islas Solovetsky, que he dicho también en términos muy concretos, es un bien de no fácil gestión que presenta complejidades que el Estado parte las asume con una decisión y una voluntad de carácter muy constructivo. De la exposición del embajador Kuznetsov a nombre de la Federación Rusia, quisiera focalizar mi comentario en la construcción del museo. Hay dos elementos que él ha puesto en consideración del comité. Por un lado, la imperiosa necesidad de que el museo sea una realidad, ya que esto tiene que ver no solamente con la exposición de bienes, sino con la preservación de las interrelaciones de carácter inmaterial del sitio con la vida monástica y religiosa. Y el segundo elemento, que es el más importante porque creo que es un muy buen precedente para casos similares, se nos ha señalado la voluntad de la Federación Rusa de reorientar los planes originales de construcción del museo, especialmente reduciendo su volumen para que la contaminación visual no afecte al BUE. Esto me parece muy importante. Hay otros casos en otros sitios que presentan el mismo problema y la disposición de un Estado parte a tener en cuenta las recomendaciones de ICOMOS, reducir la altura del museo y sobre todo haber detenido las operaciones de construcción mientras adoptamos nuestras decisiones, creo que muestran una actitud que es no solamente compatible, sino que es muy positiva con la preservación del bien. Vamos a escuchar las enmiendas, pero nosotros, el Perú, adelanta que las apresará con un espíritu positivo y constructivo. Gracias, señor presidente.
Gracias. Thank you. And now, Lebanon. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Suite aux clarifications, nous soutenons les amendements proposés par la distinguée délégation du Kazakhstan et nous espérons qu'un jour, dans les nouvelles améliorations proposées dans le site, qu'il y ait un mémorial pour Alexandre Solzhenitsyn. Merci.
Solzhenitsyn. Thank you. Zimbabwe now.
Thank you, Chairperson. Zimbabwe commends the State Party for the efforts that have been made to address the recommendations made by the advisory bodies. We particularly commend the State Party for the stopping or scaling down on the construction of the main museum. We are in support of the proposals by Kazakhstan on the draft decision.
Thank you, Excellency. Turkey. Sorry, Kuwait now. I'm sorry. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. After hearing the response of the State Party, we congratulate the Russian Federation on their continuous consultation with the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies and their serious efforts in protecting the outstanding universal value of the site. We understand the need for celebrating the intangible aspects of the site and support the request of the joint mission and support the amendments made by Kazakhstan.
Thank you, Kuwait. Now Turkey. Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. After listening to the explanation of the State Party of Russian Federation, Turkey also would like to congratulate again the State Party and support the recommendation of Kazakhstan. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not... Tunisia. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Je crois que nous avons bien fait de demander à l'État partie de nous tenir au courant de ses efforts et à la suite de ce qui vient d'être présenté, la Tunisie apporte son soutien au projet d'amendement.
Merci. Excellency, would you like to respond? I'm asking the distinguished ambassador of the Russian Federation concerning this recent question, if I may, if you like. Yes, the floor is yours. Russian Federation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to thank the distinguished members of the committee for their understanding or deep understanding of the problems which we are facing in preservation of Solovetsky Islands. And again, thank you for your encouragement in order to continue our joint efforts, consultations, and exchanges with advisory bodies in order to find the best possible solutions. I would also stress that, of course, the problems which we are facing in Solovetsky Islands are not reduced only to the museum. And these concerns are reflected in the draft resolution. On my side, I would say that we are ready during the upcoming conversations with ICOMOS and World Heritage Center to address adequately these issues. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador. And now I'm passing the floor to ICOMOS, if I may. Madam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to say that we welcome the collaboration with the State Party that has taken place over the last few months. First at the end of last year, when new proposals for the museum building were put forward, and then again more recently when a second set of different proposals were also presented. And we have these proposals and the documents that go with them on HIAs and so on for review. We fully support the idea of a museum building to house the monastic archives and collections, as well as to present the islands and all aspects of the island to tourists. The issue is the scale of the building, its location and design and so on. And we feel there is a good collaboration with the State Party to take forward these matters. And the issue of the museum and the other issues that have been identified in the State of Conservation report will all be discussed at the reactive monitoring mission. And we're certainly optimistic that the collaboration will produce some fruitful results. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 41.7b.49, concerning this property. I understand that I shall now approach Mr. Muhammad Juma concerning the amendments received. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have received proposal of amendment from distinguished delegate of Kazakhstan, Tunisia, and Cuba. Our first draft decision had 11 paragraphs. It's remain 11 paragraphs. There is slight alteration at paragraph number 8. The first part of paragraph has been remained as it is. I'll read it. Noting that new revised plans have been submitted for the museum complex. The second part has been modified. It starts with recognize the effort taken by State Party to implement the recommendation of the World Heritage Committee and the advisory body on museum complex project, and request the State Party, the last part has reminded it used to be before, to report progress to the World Heritage Committee by 1st December 2017 for review by advisory body. This is what we have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. It is clear. So no doubt we shall once again formally, step by step, visit all the paragraphs. So shall we start with those first which are intact? Para 1, para 2, para 3, para 4, para 5, and para 6, and even para 7 intact and adopted. Para 8 adopted as amended. Para 9, para 10, para 11 adopted, which means that I declare decision 41.7b.49 adopted. I would like to invite now Mrs. Isabel Anatole Gabriel to read the list of the cultural properties inscribed on the World Heritage List and located in the Europe and North America region, for which the reports are not proposed for adoption without discussion. Madam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The cultural properties inscribed on the World Heritage List and located in the Europe and North America region for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion are the following. Historic centers of Berat and Girocastra, Albania. Historic center of the city of Salzburg, Austria. Ancient city of Nesebar, Bulgaria. Historical monuments of Visreta, Georgia. Upper Middle Rhine Valley, Germany. Budapest, including the banks of the Danube, the Buda Castle Quarter, and the Andrassy Avenue, Hungary. Archaeological areas of Pompeii, Herculaneum, and Torre Annunziata, Italy. Venice and its lagoon, Italy. The Diyarbakir Fortress and Helvet's Gardens Cultural Landscape, Turkey. Ephesus, Turkey. Historic areas of Istanbul, Turkey. Kiev, Santa Sofia Cathedral and related monastic buildings, Kiev, Pershek, Lavra, Ukraine. Cornwall and West Devon mining landscape, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Palace of Westminster and Westminster Abbey, including St. Margaret Church, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Stonehenge, Avebury and associated sites, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. The Forth Bridge, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you, Madam. Merci, thank you. If there is no objection from the committee on those state of conservation reports, I declare the decisions read out adopted. And now I would like to ask the observers if they would like to express themselves about one of the properties for which we have adopted the decision without discussion. I'm sorry. Yes, Madam. Are you ready? Ladies first. Madam.
Hello?
Yes, you are on.
Thank you.
The floor is yours. If you
Thank
could
you,
kindly
Mr. Chair.
introduce yourself and 2 minutes.
My name is Jessica Lawrence with Earth Justice, a public interest environmental law organization in the United States. On behalf of 22 cultural and conservation organizations, we wish to alert the committee to a new and urgent threat facing Papahanaumokuakea World Heritage Site. It is one of the largest marine protected areas in the world, covering over 300,000 square kilometers of ocean, islands, and reefs northwest of the main Hawaiian archipelago. It has deep cultural significance for Native Hawaiians and is home to over 7,000 marine species. When it was added to the World Heritage List in 2010, the committee noted that threats to the site included exploration and mining, commercial fishing, anchor damage, and vessel strike. Unfortunately, recent actions by President Trump have brought these threats closer to reality. 2 months ago, Mr. Trump ordered a review of all U.S. national monuments with the intention of weakening or completely removing their protected status. In ordering the review, Mr. Trump called national monument designations an abusive practice that creates barriers to achieving energy independence and otherwise curtail economic growth. With respect to the designation of national marine sanctuaries, including Papahanaumokuakea, Mr. Trump has expressed concern for the loss of potential energy and mineral exploration and production. Therefore, removing the site's national monument status would also open up the site to commercial fishing, devastating endangered monk seals and many other species. This loss of monument status would remove the very legal protections necessary to preserve the site's outstanding universal values. We urge the committee to put the United States on notice that removing these legal protections could warrant the addition of the site to the list of World Heritage in danger as early as 2018. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. We have taken this note. I was quite naive at the opening at the Royal Hill, emphasizing that my major task is to not politicize our meeting. But anyway, the second NGO representative wishes to take the floor. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. My name is Kreshnik Merjani, and I came here in behalf of Forum of Girocastra. I would like to thank you for this opportunity. Forum of Girocastra is a group of intellectuals and professionals, among them Professor Emin Noriza, the name behind the nomination files of Girocastra and Berat. We fully support the recommendations of the draft decision and encourage its adoption. Girocastra is our home, and we are proud to be World Heritage Site. By saying this, we are highly concerned to the continuing loss of cultural monuments in Girocastra through the lack of conservation efforts and policy for the conservation and management of the town. We are also concerned with the continuing failure of the state party to comply with the decision of the World Heritage Committee and entirely insufficient financial and human resources allocated to resolve the city's problems. We ask from the World Heritage Committee at this session to request from the state party of Albania to stop the bypass road project permanently, to undertake a comprehensive study of traffic flows and mobility needs in the town, and to develop alternative plans to keep the historical bazaar free of vehicles. These plans to be examined by the committee and its advisory bodies. Request that the state party recedes its decision to delist over than 240 category second monuments and instead develop a plan in consultation with ECOM and ICROM for their restoration. Authorize the Secretary in accordance to the Article 176A of the Operational Guidelines to the World Heritage Convention to take the necessary actions to ascertain in consultation with the Albanian State Party and stakeholders to present conditions of the property, the dangers to the property, and the feasibility of adequately the restoration of the property. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I can see now the state party wishing to take the floor. Ukraine, the floor is yours.
Dear Chair, distinguished members of the committee, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for giving me the floor. Ukraine is very grateful for the attention that the World Heritage Center and World Heritage Committee are giving to the preservation of the UNESCO World Heritage properties in Ukraine. We recognized our responsibility in the World Heritage properties protection, and we are making maximum efforts to ensure the appropriate level of its conservation. Otherwise, we are daily facing an active urban development pressure. We are grateful for the World Heritage Center for not leaving us alone to address this issue and giving us a competent and comprehensive assistance. Since the 40th session, we made a considerable progress in finalizing the draft management plan for the property. Due to the consultative assistance of ICOMOS experts, this document was significantly improved and completed. Also, we have revised the boundaries and regimes of the property's buffer zone in order to strengthen the protection of the property. We prepared the amendments to the national legislation concerning the protection of the World Heritage properties aimed to the implementation of the 1972 Convention provisions. We consider that this year the committee's decision is balanced, but also rather challenging for the state party. It will require a lot of efforts to implement all the recommendations within 2 coming years. We have already begun to do this, but we still need the consultative assistance of the World Heritage Center, advisory body, state members of the committee, and we are looking forward to your support. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. And now I can recognize and see the line of NGO organizations. Madam, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Irina Nikiforova, Initiative for St. Andrew's Passage, Kiev, Ukraine. Dear Chair, dear committee members, first of all, I would like to inform you that following the committee decision and in cooperation with the city authorities and Kiev Mayor Vitaly Klitschko, we succeeded to reduce the height of a dissonance building in Desyatynny Lane in the buffer zone of St. Sophia Cathedral. I would like to underline that the most problematic issue, and the only one for today, in the buffer zone of St. Sophia Cathedral is the construction of a 10-story building in Honchara Street, 1723. The huge building with two-level underground parking lot has strong negative impact on the OUV of the property and has destroyed the surrounding architectural ensemble of the buffer zone of St. Sophia. We deeply regret that the item is closed for discussion because only one recommendation provided by the committee could change the situation in the buffer zone of St. Sophia, could stop the construction chaos in the buffer zone and prevent it from the further illegal construction. The city authorities and the mayor of Kiev, Vitaly Klitschko, have strong intention to reduce the height of non-conforming and dissonant buildings, but the construction lobby is quite strong in Ukraine. Otherwise, we ask you, dear committee members, to make only one amendment to the last paragraph of the decision and to change the terms of the future discussion so it could be revised at the next session of the World Heritage Committee. This practice does exist, and it has been implemented in Qatar 3 years ago when the amendments were made to already adopted decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. The state parties first. Wait a moment, please. Now the United States of America wishes, yes, to take the...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
America, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving us the floor, and thank you to the committee for giving the floor to the NGO community. We wish to thank Earth Justice and the other NGOs who continue to monitor and work with us on the protection of our national parks and national monuments. At the request of the President, as was noted, the Secretaries of Interior and Commerce are conducting a review of national monuments. National monuments are established by the U.S. President on federal land under authorities of law. President Trump has asked the secretaries to provide recommendations on the designation of 27 monuments included in the reviews, including whether any of them should be reduced in size. Papahana Mokuakea Marine National Monument is being reviewed as part of this process. No other World Heritage Sites are being reviewed. The reviews are ongoing and no determinations have yet been reached. It is not clear that any changes will be made to Panahano Mokuakea. We remain committed to our commitments under World Heritage, and we may remain committed to an ongoing and active dialogue with our NGO community on this and all other monuments. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, the last but not least, the floor is yours, sir.
My name is Stefan Dömke, representing World Heritage Watch, and I have been requested by the Citizens Initiative Rhine Passages to address the issue of the Upper Middle Rhine Valley. The Upper Middle Rhine Valley is in danger. Point one, with the expansion of the railway lines from Genoa to Rotterdam, traffic noise from railways and vibrations will increase even more. At least 600 trains will be driven daily through the Middle Rhine Valley. Point two, the Middle Rhine Bridge will connect two interregional transport networks on each side of the Rhine. Experts confirm their classification as a trans-European road. Traffic volume and noise from railways and roads must be significantly reduced. We ask for a strategic transport plan to be developed for the Middle Rhine to improve the living conditions for people on the Middle Rhine. The plans for the construction of a bridge should be abandoned for this reason. Ferries should become an integral part of the World Heritage Site. Point 3, the Lorelei Plateau is currently under construction. The reconstruction of the Lorelei open-air theater is now widely visible in the Rhine Valley, affecting seriously its integrity. Moreover, a huge hotel with 200 beds is already under construction across an area of 28,000 square meters. The further development of the Lorelei Plateau requires special care. All changes must harmonize with the landscape. Construction work on the Lorelei Plateau should be halted until a development plan has been prepared. The plan should include guidelines for appropriate building designs and layout for the long-term future of the World Heritage Site. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now the State Party of Albania. You should wait a moment, sir. Albania has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Albania is very appreciative of the report presented by the Secretariat and also appreciates a lot the efforts of the civil society and NGOs towards the better conservation of this World Heritage property, Girocastra. The World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies has always been informed and strongly consulted, and Albania State Party has been in cooperation with all these factors in order to better conserve and to plan the next steps forward. The project of the bypass, as the World Heritage Center has been informed, has been already suspended in order to find a better solution for this big problem that is the traffic in the center of the city. The other problem raised, the number of monuments of Girocastra, has been and is in a process of being recategorized as suggested by the monitoring mission of 2012. The monitoring mission of 2012 has been a monitoring mission by the ICOMOS. Further, the government of Albania is making all its efforts to raise funds in order to conserve and protect the monuments that are part of this property. And for the moment, a big amount of funds has been raised for the project of the Old Bazaar, a project that is very strongly, will be consulted with the advisory bodies and the World Heritage Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. And now the floor goes to the gentleman from the side of NGOs. The floor is yours.
Dear attendees of this session, my name is Ercan Ayboga and I represent here the majority of the civil society of Diyarbakir, the biggest city in the Kurdish southeast of Turkey. We are very concerned because there is an ongoing systematic destruction of our ancient city, which is part of the World Heritage Site. During the armed conflict between autumn 2015 and March 2016, several hundred buildings have been destroyed. But by far, the largest destruction has happened afterwards under state control. More than 2,000 buildings have been demolished, which makes around 1/3 of the whole old city. Under the ongoing blockade, the debris has been excavated without any investigation and rescuing. The integrity, authenticity of the streets and around 180 historical buildings and monuments have experienced serious damage and destruction. 20,000 people have been displaced. Recently, the construction of new buildings with concrete has started in the erased area which are sold for high prices and thus change the demography. Since spring 2017, even in the western parts of the old city, forced displacement has started. In autumn 2016, the World Heritage Site management at the local municipality, which included strong civil society, has been usurped forcibly by the Turkish government. There has been absolutely no dialogue with the civil society and no transparency. All this has not been reflected in the draft decision which just has been approved. You did not show the stand that you did properly for the historic city of Shakris Yabis in Uzbekistan. There is a double standard practiced here. In this sense, we don't give up our hope, and we hope that next year we could discuss the reconstruction of Diyarbakir like we do it this year for Aleppo. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you all. So now floor goes to Turkey. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Diyarbakir Fortress and the Hevsel Gardens cultural landscape is one of Turkey's World Heritage Sites, which has been inscribed at the 39th session of the committee in Bonn in 2015. The Turkish government throughout the process has invested in and supported the preparation of the file and development and implementation of management and conservation areas. Unfortunately, Turkey's towns and provinces, especially bordering Syria and Iraq, have been exposed to violent acts of extremism and terrorism launched from adjacent territories by armed terrorist groups like, of course, the PKK and the Daesh. PKK is a terrorist organization engaged in violent acts of terror and perpetrates all kinds of organized crime, targeting civilian population, public interests, government buildings, security installations, economic infrastructure. They are the cause of more than 40,000 civilian deaths and incalculable physical and economic damage in Turkey. More recently, certain parts of the periphery of the province of Diyarbakir, including the first buffer zone of the World Heritage Site, the Suriçi neighborhood, were also among affected areas. Thus, the government of Turkey has been compelled to introduce measures and conduct security operations in order to restore law and order and to provide for security and safety of its citizens. Any person claiming what had been done and not talking a word about terrorism is too clever by half to convince the members of the committee. Despite violent terrorist attacks, Turkish security forces maintained utmost diligence and restraint to prevent collateral damage to life and property. We have formed a commission of inquiry and deployed technical missions comprising architects, construction and survey engineers, restaurateurs, archaeologists, museum experts, art historians, and urban planners in order to assess damages that may have occurred in buildings and monuments in line with legislation on conservation and heritage sites. Our authorities, security forces, and experts continue to work on restoring order, return to normalcy, and introducing rehabilitative measures. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. And it means that we can now leave Europe and North America. I would like to thank Mrs. Isabel Anatole Gabriel. Thank you, Madam, for all your efforts. Thank you both, ladies, for your efforts. And now we are moving to Latin America and the Caribbean. No cultural property of this region has been proposed for discussion. I will therefore invite Dr. Mehdi Dresla to read the list of the properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. Dr. Resla, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So the list is as follows. Item 58, Brasilia in Brazil. 59, Churches of Chiloé in Chile. 60, Historic Quarter of the seaport city of Valparaíso in Chile. 61, City of Quito in Ecuador. 62, the Maya site of Copan in Honduras. 63, the archaeological site of Panama Viejo and Historic District of Panama in Panama. 64, Historic Center of Lima in Peru, and 65, Fray Bentos Industrial Landscape in Uruguay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Director. If there is no objection from the Committee on those State of Conservation reports, I declare the decisions read out adopted, and we shall now move to Africa. I would like to invite Mr. Edmond Mokala. Without you, we are innocent. But firstly, I would like to give the floor to the delegation of the Angola to present to the committee the reason why it requested to open the State of Conservation report on Lower Valley of the Omo, Ethiopia. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Angola has indeed requested this draft decision to be open for discussion. As we understand that information has been submitted with regards to the lower valley of Omo in Ethiopia, particularly by providing the Improved Heritage Impact Assessment report of the Coraz Sugar Project, a request that has been made on the 40th session of the committee. We would like to use this opportunity to commend ICOMOS for the work well done so far. And on the ICOMOS report regarding this property, the recommendation to include the lower valley of Omo on the strategic environmental assessment of the Lake Turkana National Park seems not to be practicable because of the location of the two different inscriptions in two different state parties and with the different OUVs of these properties. And there are also different criteria under the way they've been inscribed. We thus would like to see a separate analysis between these two properties, one located in Ethiopia, the lower valley of Omo, and the Lake Turkana National Park, which is located in Kenya. This will, of course, have impacts in the draft decision, as it should clearly be directed at the site under discussion. Hence, we propose the removal of paragraph 6 of the draft decision that we believe is not applicable to the subject at hand. We are also aware of the recent submissions made by the State Party of Ethiopia, including, as indicated, the HIA on the lower valley of Omo, updates on environmental impact assessment on the sugar development project, the provision of a map that shows the property development project, and also the distance between the two activities, which the committee appreciated during its 40th session. Angola has also submitted an amendment to reflect the current situation, as well as the efforts undertaken by the State Party in addressing the recommendations from the previous World Heritage Committee sessions. In this view, the State Party of Angola believes that the committee should consider the amendment on the draft decision. In addition, the State Party of Angola requests that the Centre continue to support the efforts made by the State Party of Ethiopia, and also requests that Ethiopia continues to work with UNESCO to preserve this World Heritage Site. Through you, Mr. Chair, we would like also to ask that an opportunity is given to the State Party to provide additional information to clarify what additional steps are being made to ensure compliance with the recommendation made by the World Heritage Center and advisor bodies. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. I would like to invite Mr. Edmond Mukala and later on ICOMOS to respond to this comment. Mr. Mukala, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Indeed, the World Heritage would like to confirm that on 12 June, the state party submitted a heritage impact assessment for the Courage Sugar Plantation project, and on 17 June, an update map on the Courage project. Due to their late submission, it was not possible to take this document into account in the SOC report and the draft decision prepared by the World Heritage Center and the advisory body. It's needed also to be noted that the state party has been liaising closely with the UNESCO and ICOMOS on the implementation of the EU-funded project entitled Promoting the Contribution of World Heritage for Sustainable Development and Reinforcing Capacity for the Protection and Conservation of the Paleontological Sites in Ethiopia. As previously reported to the committee, this project is particularly important as one of its objectives is to carry out geomapping to establish boundaries for the property and its buffer zone, which should be given clear priority in the project implementation and precede any further advancement of the Chorus project. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you. So now, ICOMOS. Madam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We acknowledge the extra material that has been submitted by the State Party on the HIA and updated map. ICOMOS would like to comment that this is a very large project, that the Kuras project that is being undertaken over many years, and it is extremely extensive. In order to fully understand this project, we do need the best possible documentation. And indeed, this is what we have been requesting over the years. We have a map and now an updated map, but our view is it would certainly be valuable to have even further details to fully understand how it extends towards the World Heritage property and particularly the ancillary infrastructure projects that go with it. As far as the HIA is concerned, we need to have this wide dimension if we are to evaluate the HIA. A second problem is that an HIA needs to relate to the World Heritage property, and to do that, there needs to be some boundaries. And as we've already heard, there is an ongoing boundary project that has not yet reached a conclusion. So the boundaries of the project have not been clearly delineated and updated. So this is a very difficult project for us and for the State Party. We have collaborated, and we hope we can still collaborate to resolve some of these not so straightforward issues that we are faced with. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. And now it's time to invite the committee members to express their comments, if any. Zimbabwe. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairperson. Zimbabwe supports the proposal by Tanzania, by Angola to amend the draft decision, particularly based on the removal of number 6, which has joined the Lower Omo Valley property with the transboundary World Heritage property, which is shared with Kenya and the Turkana Valley. I think it is very difficult for a state for the state party or for us as a committee to look at impacts at another property which is not under discussion. If the two properties were under discussion, it would have been made it easier to see the connection between the two of them. So we support the proposal. We also join and support the advisory body in urging the state party to provide the information that is still missing and that is required, but also to comment the working relationship that has been established with the advisory body, and to urge that this continues more frequently, particularly in order for the boundary to be established as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, the United Republic of Tanzania. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Excellency Chair. Tanzania would want to intervene after the state party has given an opportunity to speak, as it was requested by Angola.
Thank you. Now the floor goes to Portugal. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Very briefly, we have exactly the same position as Zimbabwe and Tanzania, and we support Angola's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Turkey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Turkey supports the efforts made by the state party. As is also stated before, we also support the recommendations of Angola. We also think that Africa is one of the global priorities of UNESCO, so we have to more encourage the African countries in the perspective of the conservation works. So we also recommend to follow up the regular procedure of the World Heritage Committee on having an updated report on the state of conservation of the property as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Philippines, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excellency.
We have listened closely to the discussion and we take note of the developments reported, especially the submission of the Heritage Impact Assessment of the Kuraz project. Those submitted late, we recognize the efforts of the state party and this should be acknowledged. We appreciate the close engagement of the state party and the Heritage Center as well as ICOMOS. Having said this, we believe we should look at it positively, an amendment submitted by Angola, which we think is very reasonable. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, Burkina Faso, Madame Ambassador. The floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. À notre tour, nous voulons également soutenir cette proposition de donner la parole à l'État parti, mais nous notons d'une part également les différentes souhaits d'information que l'organisation consultative a demandé. Nous souhaitons que l'État puisse être à même de fournir ces recommandations. Et enfin, nous voulons également soutenir que l'on puisse distinguer entre les deux biens et ne traiter essentiellement que ce qui concerne la basse vallée de l'Omo dans ce projet de décision. Je vous remercie.
Merci. Thank you. Now, Jamaica. Jamaica, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jamaica thanks the World Heritage Center and the advisory body for their reports, which indicate that although some work has been conducted by the state party, there is still significant work outstanding, including documentation related to the Kuraz Sugar Development Project and its impact on the OUV of the property. As the matter has been open for discussion by Angola, and there is an indication of updated and additional information from the state party, Jamaica would welcome hearing from the state party. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Croatia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After having heard from ICOMOS about their good collaboration, we would also like to hear from the state party. We suggest a further close cooperation, and we are also supporting the draft amendment done by Angola and the others. Thank you.
Thank you. The Republic of Korea now. The floor is yours, Korea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We know that achieving balance between development and conservation are a very difficult task, and we would like to commend the efforts of the state party in this regard. As you understand, the state party submitted updated information on the Krakow project and began the project to address the boundaries and to prepare HIA requested by the 40th Committee. Considering the progress to improve statement of the conservation, we support the proposal submitted by Angola. Thank you.
Thank you. Finland. Finland has the floor. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. This is also just shortly to commend the State Party for the progress and to encourage the State Party to continue the dialogue with the advisory body. Thank you.
Thank you. If I see none distinguished members of the committee wishing to continue, the floor goes to the State Party. Madam Minister, the floor is yours. Ethiopia.
Mr. Chair, Excellency, Director of the World Heritage Center,
Excellencies, committee members, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Ethiopian delegation and that of my own, it gives me great pleasure to express my sincere gratitude to the people and government of Poland for the warm welcome and generous hospitality accorded to us since our arrival in the historic and beautiful city of Krakow. I also thank the committee for recognizing our efforts to conserve Semien Mountain National Park. That indeed is a long-awaited and hard-earned outcome for the people and government of Ethiopia. We thank the committee for its decision and our partners for their support. As heritage conservation issues in Africa and the developing world are yet very challenging, we were equally satisfied and congratulate Côte d'Ivoire for the step it took and for the committee's consideration to remove the Komoy National Park from the list of World Heritage Sites in danger. Excellency, Mr. Chair, Ethiopia values the vital role of this convention to build peace, to ensure tolerance, and strengthen fraternity among communities. We also appreciate the contribution of heritage for sustainable development. To this end, we have been working with the UNESCO and relevant partners, to whom I would like to express our thanks for supporting us to preserve our heritage sites. As to the state conservation of the low value of the Omo, the draft decision deals with the Lake Turkana National Parks of the State Party of Kenya and the lower valley of Omo of the State Party of Ethiopia. However, the State Party of Ethiopia believes the decision on lower valley of Omo should deal only with the lower valley of Omo, as many have spoken in the committee, which is entirely located in Ethiopia. This is in conformity with the convention that provides the responsibility to protect and preserve a heritage site in the obligation of the state party in which it is located. On this basis, the draft decision should only refer to lower valley of Omo. We also request the committee to consider the recently submitted revised heritage impact assessment on lower valley of Omo, the EIA on the Kura Sugar project that is underway, the map that shows the location and distance between the lower valley of the Omo and the Kura Sugar project. Regarding the initial draft decision's reference to a SIA on Kura's project, I would like to clarify to the committee that the State Party of Ethiopia is revising the EIA on Kura Sugar project. As the subject of the study is particular project and not SIA, the study assessing its impact should be environmental impact assessment and not SIA. Taking this into account, paragraph 7 should only make reference to EIA. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, I would like to conclude by wishing you a fruitful deliberation during the rest of the session, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Irina Bokova, the outgoing Director General of UNESCO, for her outstanding leadership, and I wish her all the best in her future endeavors. I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, and now I invite the committee to adopt the draft decision 41-7b.68 concerning this property. Mr. the rapporteur, Mr. Cuba, I'm sorry again. You are too close to the chair. The floor is yours.
Gracias, señor presidente, pero realmente nuestro interés era precisamente apoyar la fundamentación que se había hecho con relación a las modificaciones y que ya usted precisamente está planteando en pantalla. Concretamente, apoyamos las modificaciones que está planteando la delegación de Angola. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Now Q8 has the floor. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Following the intervention by the State Party and reconfirming the revision of the HIA and the EIA, we would support the amendment submitted by Angola. Thank you.
Thank you. The United Republic of Tanzania.
Thank you, Excellency Chair. After the intervention of the State Party, Tanzania will support the proposal decision made by Angola.
Good. So now we can try to adopt the decision. It is why I'm asking again the rapporteur concerning the amendments on the draft decision proposed. Mr. German, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a proposed amendment from distinguished delegate of Angola. As you can see, it's the draft in our screen. The paragraph 1 has remained as it is. Paragraph 2 has been modified. We remove the decision 39-7B48. Consequently, we remove also the date which was adopted, 39 session in Bonn. Paragraph 2. Paragraph 3 had a two-party. The first part has been modified and it was deleted. So we start with the second part of the paragraph. Reiterate its request to the state party to provide adequate detail of the project, including clear and precise information on its scope and the location, as well as information on the location of pastoral communities in relation to the property as matter of urgency by 1st December 2017 as requested by the committee at its 38th and 40th session respectively in 2014 and 2016. Paragraph 4 has not been modified. Paragraph 5 has been modified, as you can see. We start with not the late submission of the HIA of the Kuras project, and then part has been deleted, and request the state party to liaise with World Heritage Center and advisory body in review to ensure that the EHA is compatible with acceptable international standards and with the ICOMOS guideline and heritage impact assessment for cultural World Heritage property, and that the EHA is based on defined property boundary on clear, adequate details of Kuras project. Mr. Chair, paragraph 6 has been deleted completely. Paragraph 7 also has been proposed to be deleted. So the previous paragraph 8 now become paragraph 6, which has not been modified. So this is a proposal of modification from distinguished delegates of Angola. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's start with para 1, adopted. Para 2. Angola wishes to take the floor. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Based on the latest information that we've just heard in this room from the Ethiopian delegation, we would like to do an amendment on the paragraph 7. I don't know if we should do now or when we get there, because it has been mentioned that an environmental impact study is ongoing. So we would like to do a change on paragraph 7.
Sorry to interrupt you. I do propose to come back with this remark when we finally reach this paragraph, if I may. So let's go back, please. Para 2, adopted as amended. Para 3, Philippines. The floor is yours, Ambassador.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My delegation would like to make an amendment, further amendment to that of Angola. And the new, it starts with reiterates its request to the state party to provide adequate details of the project. What project? Therefore, we would like to add the name of the project, which is details of the Ethiopian Sugar Development Corporation project, and then open close Kuras project, just to be precise. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. How is the reaction of Angola? Approved. So, if so, para 3 adopted as amended. Para 4. Adopted. Para 5. Adopted as amended. I understand that former para 6 and former para 7 are disappearing as amended. Para 6 adopted, and now we are writing para 7. Angola, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mr. Chairperson. Actually, what you'd like to do is on para 7, the former para 7, to leave some of the text that starts from also noting the scale of the ongoing Courage project, its potential direct and indirect impacts on the property, so that should be left. Okay. And add the following: reiterates the request for the state party to finalize and submit the environmental impact study, the EIA, on the Courage project. EIA. I thank you.
Thank you. Adopted as amended, but I understand that it should be para 7. No, it should be at the end. Am I right or not?
Mr. Chairman,
It's
it should be
correct.
6.
6.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now it is clear. Good. So 6 adopted as amended and 7 already adopted. So let me please, and finally, declare decision 41, com 7b.68 adopted as amended. And now, number 69, Lamu Old Town, Kenya. I would like to invite Mr. Edmund Mukala, Chief of the Africa Unit of the World Heritage Center, to present the report on the state of conservation of cultural properties located in the Africa region and open for discussion. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The report can be found in document WHC 1741.com 7B, page 147 for the English version and page 154 for the French version. In addition to a state of conservation report dated January 7, 2017, the state party has submitted a number of documents related to the Lamu Port, South Sudan, Ethiopia Transport Lapset Corridor project in December 2016, January 2017, April 2017, and May 2017. While appreciating the significant number of the exchanges with the state party, the World Heritage Center and the advisory body would like to express their concern that the various documents transmitted by the state party do not appear to deal adequately with the World Heritage status of the property, nor do they refer to the heritage impact assessment carried out in 2014 as requested by the committee. Moreover, as the 2012 reactive monitoring mission to Lake Turkana National Park World Heritage Property concluded that the Lapset project could also impact Lake Turkana, it is important that the strategic environmental assessment of Lapset project take into account all potentially impacted World Heritage properties. In addition, it should also be noted that on 29 May 2017, the World Heritage Center sent a letter to the state party transferring a third-party information regarding the proposed coal plant in the vicinity of the property and encouraged the state party to submit the related environmental and heritage impact assessment to the World Heritage Center. The state party promptly acknowledged receipt of the letter and gave reassurance of follow-up. The draft decision 41com 7B 69 for this property can be found on page 149 for the English version and on page 156 for the French version. Mr. Chairperson, I would like to turn to my colleagues from ICOMOS and ICOMOS for additional comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. I'm not surprised. ICOMOS now. The floor is yours, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. ICOMOS has had some difficulty in assessing the precise impact of the extensive LAPSEC project, as, in spite of requests by the committee over several sessions for more detailed documentation, quite simply, we have not yet received information that is adequate in scope, unambiguous, or related to potential impact on the property. And although in decision of 40-Con 7B12, the committee noted the state party's assurance that the project would exclude the Lamo archipelago, this remained unclear until we were reassured at a meeting here with the state party that that is still the case. Nevertheless, although there are no direct impacts, there is the potential for adverse indirect impact. The LAPSEC project has many dimensions, including a new port, a new metropolitan district for workers, a possible tourist resort, a coal plant, and connections to the coast. Although we now know roughly where these sites are to be, we have no precise details and no specific HIAs, apart from an initial one that was undertaken mainly for the port. We understand that the tourist resort is a long-term project, but the coal plant has already been improved in principle, although it is subject to a legal challenge by local communities. We also understand that the LAPSEC project is linked in to other infrastructure projects that go beyond Kenya to other members of the East African community related to roads, pipelines and holiday resorts, including the one already mentioned near Lake Turkana. The strategic impact assessment was seen as the opportunity to take an overview of the LAPSEC project, but the details that have been provided so far indicate that it is not offering a strategic view that covers cultural heritage, nor does it relate to the existing HIA. In ICOMOS's view, this should be augmented. I would like to stress that ICOMOS wishes to be proactive on this project in being able to engage with the state party on which aspects of this major and economically important project are benign and which have the potential to impact adversely on the property. To do this, we need to be provided with sufficiently detailed information to allow assessments to be made and for these assessments to be based on those undertaken by the state party. In order to make progress, and following very helpful discussions with the state party here at the committee, we consider that it will be beneficial for the reactive monitoring mission that is proposed to be undertaken to the property as recommended in the draft decision, but that also in advance of that, a separate meeting would be held to discuss technical details of the LAPSEC project and its links to wider infrastructure and other developments across the region. And this has been discussed with the state party. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam. And now I invite the committee members to express their comments, if there are any. Angola, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous aimerions souligner le fait que l'AMO ainsi que les autres sites et des villes historiques inscrits sur la liste du patrimoine mondial, comme les cas que nous avons examinés ce matin, les centres historiques de Vienne, l'ensemble historique, culturel et naturel des îles Solovesti, font face aux défis de développement urbain qui ont certainement un impact sur la protection et la gestion de ce genre de sites. Et ceci demande certainement des mesures correctives urgentes. Bien qu'une partie de la documentation sollicitée par les centres du patrimoine mondial, l'ICROM et l'ICOMOS à l'État partie, soit envoyée tardivement et présente quelques insuffisances, mais ces organes consultatifs reconnaissent les efforts déployés par le gouvernement du Kenya en mettant à jour le plan de gestion du site qui inclut le projet LAPSEC et qui implique fortement les communautés locales. Et un protocole a été signé avec la coordination du projet pour prendre en compte les enjeux de conservation et de gestion du site. L'État partie s'engage à mettre à jour ces informations dès que le cycle de réunions avec les parties prenantes serait bouclé. Donc nous aimerions peut-être avoir des éclaircissements auprès des organes consultatifs sur les possibles liens existants entre les sites de l'AMU et les parcs nationaux des lacs Turkana, parce que certains paragraphes du projet de décision font mention aux deux sites. Pourtant, le site qui est en train d'être évalué est celui de l'AMU. Nous avons noté également qu'il y a une ouverture de renforcement de la coopération entre l'État partie et les organes consultatifs pour mettre en œuvre les mesures correctives sur les menaces qui pèsent sur les sites. Par conséquent, nous encourageons que l'État partie continue à collaborer avec les centres et les organes consultatifs afin de réduire au maximum les menaces qui pèsent sur les sites et maintenir à tout prix sa valeur universelle exceptionnelle. L'Angola a soumis un amendement au projet de décision, mais avant que cela ne soit examiné, nous aimerions que l'on accorde la parole à l'État partie. Je vous remercie.
Merci. Now the floor goes to Jamaica. Jamaica, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Jamaica recognizes the strategic and necessary steps that the state party has taken, certainly between 2004 and 2015. It shows a commitment to preserve the Lamu Old Town, which is the oldest and best preserved Swahili settlement in East Africa. The matter of concern is that there appears to be a gap in the timely submission of reports as to the adequacy of the information provided, and that specific actions such as the SEA and the HIA need to be undertaken. So we implore the state party to demonstrate even greater commitment to preserve and safeguard the heritage of the site by undertaking assessments and completing necessary reporting to UNESCO. We strongly urge the state party to invite a new reactive monitoring mission to the site. Without this necessary assessment concerning the overall state of conservation of the site, the property is clearly under potential danger in line with Para 180 of the operational guidelines. We too would also welcome hearing from the state party. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. And now the floor goes to Zimbabwe. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairperson. Zimbabwe also supports the request that the state party is given the floor to give clarification to this matter. We note this site is also an area where we are looking at issues of development and sustainable development and preservation of the site. And we commend the state party for the efforts that have been made in terms of the restrictions that have been put to ensure that the developments do not affect the master plan of the island of Lamu. However, we wait to hear from the state party on the actions that have been taken, for which we urge it to take more and collaborate more closely with the advisory bodies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, the United Republic of Tanzania. Tanzania, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Tanzania would also wanted to intervene. We see the complexity of this site. We see the issues of SEA, and we show the issues of responsibilities not being taken care in time, but would further want to intervene when the state party has spoken. Thank you.
Thank you. Philippines, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We recognize that the growth and the decline of seaports represent a significant cultural and economic phase in the history of East African region, and that this finds its most outstanding expression in Lamu Old Town. The Philippine delegation encourages the state party to provide sufficient evidence that the impact on the site, the surrounding natural environment, including the buffer zone, its people, cultural identity, and traditions would be minimal and manageable. The state party is also encouraged to invite a joint World Heritage Center and the other advisory bodies for a reactive monitoring mission in this regard. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And now, Burkina Faso. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ma délégation a noté qu'il y a des préoccupations sur les documents qui ont été présentés par l'État partie et qui ne permettent pas à l'organisation consultative d'évaluer l'impact potentiel du projet, l'abcès sur le bien. Donc, nous pensons qu'il y a urgence de faire cette évaluation d'impact et aussi considérer l'acceptation de la mission de suivi réactif. Nous aimerions donc que l'État partie considère ces deux demandes qui nous semblent urgentes et nous voulons l'entendre sur ces deux points. Merci.
Merci. I see none. Any more interventions? So now the floor goes to ICOMOS if you want to add anything before we move to the adoption of the draft decision.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, but I understood the State Party was to comment.
So if I could kindly ask the State Party to answer the questions. Kenya, the floor is yours.
Well, the chair of the 41st session of the World Heritage Committee, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, again, since it's our first time to address this meeting, I wish to join the others in congratulating you for your appointment as chair of this 41st session of the World Heritage Committee. I also again take the opportunity to thank the government of Poland for the warm welcome to this beautiful city of Krakow. Mr. President, I wish to draw your attention to several issues raised concerning the Lamu Old Town and seek your indulgence to our view on the conservation of the town. Mr. President, regarding the perceived lack of updates of the feasibility study for the LAPSET project, I wish to inform you that the planning process and review is an ongoing activity and may take years to be fully realized. We would like the committee to appreciate that the development associated with the LAPSET and the proposed Lamu metropolis are located outside the Lamu Island and the official buffer zone of the World Heritage Site at least 30 kilometers away on the Lamu mainland. However, we recognize that some of the new developments might affect some of the old town values. And for that reason, the government of Kenya in 2016 and 2017 appointed several consultants to undertake specific sectoral plans for the LAPSET project and associated infrastructure project. For example, the county government of Lamu has appointed a consultant to undertake an integrated Lamu Metropolitan Area Structure Plan, which is a detailed planning document for the Lamu Metropolis, a component of the LAPSET project. The LAPSET Authority has, in addition, appointed an international consultant to complement the Metropolis Master Plan for the Lamu Port and Investment Framework. Kenya commits to submit these reports to the World Heritage Center as soon as they are ready, and they will ensure that the heritage issues of the Lamu Old Town property will be factored in the planning. Mr. President, regarding the LAPSET draft report, the State Party of Kenya has agreed to invite the World Heritage Center, ICOMOS, ICROM, for a technical meeting in Nairobi in December 2017 to further discuss the issues of the advisory bodies that they would like addressed. I also wish to seek your indulgence to the issue of Manda Airport expansion. The Manda Airport runway extension was an upgrade from Maram surface to bitumen surface. The makeshift structures of the airport terminal were refurbished to permanent structures, but to the same scale. volume, and in conformity with the Lamu Swahili architecture. Finally, Mr. President, the State Party of Kenya assures you of the official relationship between the Lapset Corridor Development Authority and the Kenya National Museums, in which cultural and natural heritage have been adopted as key consideration in the planning and development process of the Lapset project. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you very much indeed. And now the United Republic of Tanzania wishes to have.
Thank you, Your Excellency Chair. This is another complex situation that we are seeing, but we do see a lot of efforts put in by the State Party, and Tanzania recommends for all the efforts that are being put into a project, into this property. However, we see some requests that are not easy to do. We see the issue of SEA, where you are putting Lam, you are connecting Lam to Turkana National Park. That means you are talking from the north to the south. And this will involve a lot of expertise, but also a lot of money. We see the issue of the airstrip, where we think there could be pollution, noise, and a lot of other things. For this situation now, before we come into a situation where we start thinking of putting a site in danger list, I would humbly, the State Party of Tanzania would humbly advise or recommend that the advisory bodies, particularly the ECOMOS, to start working on the corrective measures, very clearly seeing what can be done and how it can be done, working together with the State Party, so that we don't come to a situation where things are out of our hands. We clearly think if we are proactive and if we take preventive measures, we may not go into the situation where this property will have to suffer. So the State Party of Tanzania will actually remind and recall that we do work on the preventive measures right now before things are worse. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. So anyway, now it's time to adopt the draft decision 41.7b.69 concerning this property. Mr. the Rapporteur, have you received any amendments on the draft decision proposed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have received an amendment from distinguished delegate of Angola. As you can see it from the screen, we have a draft decision with 12 paragraphs. Now we're going to have only 11 paragraphs. If we start with paragraph 1, paragraph 2, there's no amendment. Paragraph 3, the last part of paragraph has been deleted. Paragraph 4, there are amendments. The new paragraph reads, notes that the 2011 feasibility study and master plan for the Lapset project are completed, as well as the heritage impact assessment carried out in 2014, and continues to encourage the State Party to include Lamu Archipelago from Lapset development, and acknowledge that while the Lapset project is going on, the fully detailed Lapset project be submitted to the World Heritage Center as and when available. Paragraph 5 has not been modified, so to remind that is it. Paragraph 6, delegate members, has been deleted. Paragraph 7 now become paragraph 6. The original paragraph 8 become paragraph 7 with no amendment, with no modification. Paragraph 9 become paragraph 8 with no modification. Paragraph 10 become paragraph 9 with slight modification. At the end, we can see there. The word like Turkana National Park has been deleted. Paragraph 11 now become paragraph 10 with modification. I can read the new paragraph. Acknowledge the submission of the draft SEA report and urge the State Party to continue enhancing the mitigation measure to address They identified negative impacts of the project in line with paragraph 108 of the operation guidelines. Paragraph 12 now become new paragraph 11 without modification. So those are the proposals from distinguished delegation of Angola, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. A lot of modifications. Before we do start to analyze this document one by one, the floor goes to the United Republic of Tanzania.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Actually, I had a small concern on number 9, so when we come there, I can say what I want to say.
But if so, presumably we will reach this very point. But let's go. Go ahead, please. Yes. So, para 1, adopted. Para 2, adopted. Para 3, adopted as amended. Para 4, adopted as amended. Para 5, adopted. Finland wishes to take the floor. Which paragraph? The floor is yours.
I'm really sorry, Mr. Chair. It's just a cosmetic thing on para 4.
4?
Yes, in the end there, it said before as soon as possible, and we have changed it to and when available. They basically mean the same thing, but the standard language that we have used have normally been as soon as possible. So I would rather prefer that, so we have the same style of these draft decisions as before.
Yes, we shall be consistent. So once again, para 4, adopted as amended. Para 5, adopted. Para 6, Jamaica wishes to take the floor.
Thank you, Chair. My apologies for delaying the process. Going back to para 4, we try as far as possible to put time frames, and I think we really would not be serving the state party well if we do not put a time frame to this. As soon as possible, we leave it open. So can we, I mean, I don't know that I'm the best person. Perhaps the advisory body could suggest a time frame, but I really think it's important for us to put that to a time. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will come back to para 4 in a while, but now the floor goes to ICOMOS. ICOMOS, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The question of the timescale for when plans should be submitted, we certainly need the plans in advance of the reactive monitoring mission and in advance of the technical meeting which is being proposed in Nairobi in December.
I see. Oh, the floor goes back to Jamaica.
That is workable, Chair. As I said before, it's really important that we are clear and we indicate directly to the state party what is required of them. And now we know that it has to be submitted by December 2017. Thank you.
Thank you. So I understand that I'm allowed to adopt this paragraph as amended. Para 5 has been already adopted. Para 6, deleted. There is new para 6. Adopted as amended. Para 7, adopted. Para 8, adopted. Para 9. The United Republic of Tanzania.
Yeah, Thank you, Chair. The delegation of Tanzania thinks it's in order. We support the proposal.
I'm very grateful for that. Thank you. Para 9 adopted as amended. Para 10 adopted as amended, and finally Para 11 adopted, which means that I can declare decision 41.7b.69 adopted. I understand that now there is the desire and the wish from the side of NGO to take the floor. Madam, the floor is yours. If you could kindly introduce yourself, and you have 2 minutes.
My name is Hadija Shekwe. I'm from a community-based organization known as Save Lamu. Right now, Lamu Old Town is threatened by 2 mega projects, the LAPSET project, and most recently a proposed 1,050 megawatt coal power plant, just 30 kilometers from the old town. In 2014, the World Heritage Committee expressed deep concern about the likely negative impact of the LAPSET project, the first of the concern I have mentioned. Following the latest UNESCO decision, a strategic environmental assessment was completed. Our review of the assessment report indicates that it does not provide protection or mitigation for the site. The proposed coal power plant will exponentially increase the negative impact on the Lamu site, and majority of the community are against the coal project. I therefore ask the community, please, to seek protection of the Lamu Old Town from avoidable industrial threat, to ask the state party to reject the coal power plant, or at least to provide details on the mitigation measures for every element of the project threatening the site, and most sadly place Old Town Lamu on the list of World Heritage in danger. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to address the community.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I understand that we are approaching, anyway, lunchtime. Don't be afraid, but let me please open the next important African inscription, number 71, island of St. Louis, Senegal. I now would like to give the floor to the distinguished delegation of the Burkina Faso to present to the committee the reason why it requested to open the State of Conservation report on island of St. Louis, Senegal. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Burkina Faso a demandé l'ouverture du point relatif au rapport sur l'état de conservation de l'île de Saint-Louis afin de permettre d'apporter un amendement au paragraphe 6 du projet de décision, ce à la lumière des informations fournies dans le rapport et qui pourraient être complétées par l'État partie. L'analyse et les conclusions du comité et également de l'ICOMOS et de l'ICROM reconnaissent les progrès qui ont été réalisés par l'État partie en termes d'activités de conservation et également sa disposition à coopérer. Nous notons l'approche participative qui a impliqué tous les acteurs concernés, l'État, les communautés locales et les partenaires privés. Cette approche participative est à saluer. Il est de même pour les mesures pratiques, administratives et financières qui ont été prises par l'État partie dans le cadre de la mise en œuvre des recommandations antérieures du comité. Nous pensons que ces efforts ainsi que les progrès enregistrés méritent d'être reconnus, reflétés dans le projet de décision qui nous est proposé. Et c'est de cette manière que l'État partie pourrait se sentir encouragé et poursuivre ses efforts. D'autre part, nous estimons que le délai de soumission du rapport actualisé proposé au 1er février 2018 dans le projet de décision, donc dans quelques mois, nous semble bien court pour disposer des avancées significatives qui seront communiquées. Pour toutes ces raisons, le Burkina Faso a demandé l'ouverture du point pour discussion et souhaiterait présenter quelques amendements conjointement avec le Zimbabwe. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you for this presentation. I would like to ask Admiral Mukala to respond. The floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La mission de 2017 avait constaté que les préoccupations fortes exprimées par le comité lors de sa 40e session en 2016, à savoir l'état de dégradation important et le manque de restauration et d'entretien de plusieurs bâtiments historiques, la gestion participative du bien, l'intégration des mesures réglementaires, le recrutement d'agents assermentés, le mécanisme de suivi et contrôle des modifications et nouvelles constructions, le diagnostic des bâtiments publics et les plus dégradés, la recherche de financement, le renforcement des capacités, la sensibilisation. Nous avons noté en termes de gestion une nette amélioration dans la coordination des acteurs par rapport à 2014. Quelques outils de collaboration ont été mis en place, comité de sauvegarde élargi, plan d'action, quelques projets conjoints de mise en valeur. Concernant les modalités de contrôle, suivi et protection, les bases pour un système de suivi efficace ont été mises en place. Ceci à travers un long processus de consultation de toutes les parties prenantes. Il reste encore à l'État partie de travailler sur l'opérationnalisation en organisant des réunions systématiques. Bien qu'un nombre significatif de ces préoccupations sont progressivement mises en œuvre, la situation globale de plusieurs bâtiments classés ou remarquables sont dans un état de conservation contrasté. Certains cas de dégradation lente ont été notés, notamment pour les bâtiments déjà identifiés en 2005. Il y a plusieurs cas de mauvais état alors que les bâtiments étaient considérés sains en 2005. C'est pourquoi, donc, Monsieur le Président, il est ainsi primordial que la dynamique lancée par le gouvernement et les communautés locales soit soutenue afin de contrecarrer les menaces permanentes qui pèsent sur le bien. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Merci. Thank you. Now, ICOMOS. ICOMOS has the floor. Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. ICOMOS, like the World Heritage Centre, note the progress that has been made in creating management structures to begin an inventory and to recruit an architect urbanist to help the team. And we fully appreciate the effort that has been made to engage civil society and local communities in these efforts. We do consider that these measures will take time to have an impact. Meanwhile, the degradation that was noted by successive missions is not being systematically addressed in a way that turns the property round and reverses what is seen as a downward trend. Although there are some areas that have been improved, if one takes the property as a whole, the indicators show it moving downwards. What we wish to see is an increased mobilization of resources and efforts to target the crucial areas that will allow the degradation to be reversed and things to begin to turn in a positive direction. And the thrust of the State of Conservation report was to suggest ways in which this could be addressed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. As we are running out of time, let me please propose to open the floor and to open the list right now before lunch, and we will continue after that. Lebanon. I'm sorry, Zimbabwe, if I may, excuse. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairperson. Zimbabwe supports the reasons for opening the discussion and also the reasons that have been given by Burkina Faso. We recognize the efforts of the state party to put in place and to implement the recommendations from the 2014 reactive monitoring mission, which which has now been just 2 years. A restoration takes longer than 2 years to achieve. Mr. Chairman, we would like to mostly commend the achievements, which include the mobilization of local communities and the private sector for the restoration of the property, the establishment of control and monitoring and protection measures through a long consultation process with all the stakeholders, is a distinct improvement in the coordination of stakeholders and other collaborators through the International Partners Forum, and also having local champions to protect the property. We also would like the committee to take into account that the restoration efforts have started, but it will take time to see the results. The analysis of the advisory bodies that there are some improvements, although the effort still needs to be done, is also appreciated. We want to encourage the state party to continue in this endeavor and to implement the remaining recommendations with the support of the local community that they have already, and the international community that has been mobilized, as well as the center and the advisory bodies. We therefore do not agree with the statement of intention to put the property on the list in danger, as this may reflect lack of confidence and consideration by the committee of the state party, which is really putting all this effort in restoring the property. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, Lebanon. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le temps presse, excusez-moi, mais je vais être très court. Cette question de la sauvegarde de Saint-Louis nous importe tous parce que c'est une opération combinée entre le gouvernement, la mairie et surtout la diaspora. Et ceci est un exemple à suivre dans des cas pareils. Et comme il y a une disponibilité des autorités sénégalaises, je pense que nous sommes tenus d'accepter l'amendement proposé par le Burkina Faso et le Zimbabwe. Merci.
Thank you. Jamaica has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Jamaica commends the work of the State Party of Senegal in work focused towards the conservation and preservation of the island of St. Louis. In particular, we know the measures taken by the State Party to safeguard the site. And so we are recognizing that the commitment to fulfilling the recommendations of the World Heritage Center by the State Party to include the development of a communication strategy, rehabilitation of heritage structures, and reviving of the management structures are indicative of the level of the work that the State Party is willing to perform. However, we agree with previous speakers that indicate that these activities will require time, and the State Party will need this time to realize the corrective measures that are proposed. And so we encourage the State Party to continue towards these measures and therefore fulfill the measures, the corrective activities that are needed. Thank you.
Thank you, and I shall excuse Tunisia, and the floor is yours now. Tunisia.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La délégation de Tunisie rejoint la position de toutes les délégations qui ont demandé à ce que cette décision soit revue plutôt positivement, étant donné l'effort consenti et réel qui est fait par l'État partie, notamment en ce qui concerne l'amélioration de la gestion, le début de travaux de restauration, l'engagement de la société civile à aider justement cette entreprise. Mais ce qui n'a pas été dit, je sais aussi qu'il y a un intérêt particulier pour le développement des capacités. Tout cela plaide, à mon avis, dans le sens d'une œuvre sérieuse pour prendre en charge comme il se doit ce patrimoine. Par conséquent, le délai donné notamment pour remettre un rapport juste dans 6 mois me semble ne pas être suffisant. Et là-dessus, je voudrais rejoindre la position du Burkina Faso pour ce qui est de l'amendement proposé. Merci.
See, ladies and gentlemen, let me please inform you, firstly, that there is 1 a.m. sharp. We have still 6 distinguished delegations wishing to get the floor: Kuwait, Portugal, Philippines, Azerbaijan, the United Republic of Tanzania, and Finland. Let me propose, before I declare the lunch break, that we will anyway come back to island of St. Louis after lunch to continue our discussion and finally to adopt the draft decision. So if I do see no objections, let me please thank you very much for your active contribution to the efforts of this very session. And of course, traditionally, before I declare this session closed, the floor goes to Secretariat, and there are some important announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The side events during the lunch break are displayed on the screens in front of you. There are 3 side events starting respectively at 1:10, 1:15 and 14:10. I would also like to let you know that there would be no meeting of the budget group because it finished its work yesterday. But another additional announcement, further to the request of the Organization for Islamic Cooperation, they have asked us to inform you that the group of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation will meet at 2 p.m. in room 2030 on the 2nd level. 2 o'clock, 2030 on the 2nd level. Thank you very much.